are live. Hang on. Well, we are here today with our very special guest, as promised, Buck Angel, or Mr. I keep on calling you Mr. Buck Angel for some reason. Like he is
Thank you. It's respectful.
So we're here with Mr. Buck Angel, and we're gonna let him introduce himself for those you may not know him, and maybe tell a little bit of his story. And thank you for being here.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys reaching out. I'm hearing myself though somewhere from somebody's.
You know what? I'll mute just until we get to the question.
Okay, great. So thanks for having me. My name is Buck Angel. I am a transsexual man, which means I'm a biological female who transitioned to look and live like a male 31 years ago. Actually, I think it's 32 now. It's kind of crazy. So with that, I'm, I guess, a controversial person who speaks out against the transitioning of young children. I do not believe there's anything such as trans kids, and I support women's I really sort of, I guess what I do is I champion for women's rights, being a biological female myself. So that's me in a nutshell. You can say whatever else you need to about me.
That's quite a kaleidoscope. What the thing about there's no trans kids, I wanted to get what you meant by that, because I watched your documentary and it seems like you would be what I would describe as a trans kid. Like you knew at a very early age, your gender never felt aligned to your body, etc.
Well, here's the issue I have with calling kids trans. So yes, I was a kid who probably had gender dysphoria. I'm 61 years old, so we didn't know back in the 60s and 70s anything of this, thank God. But what we did know was kids, played around with gender, which I did. I was a tomboy, 100% a tomboy, no doubt about it. But I was a little girl. Now, that being said, I have issues with pushing people into labels. And I think some of these kids who now we're calling trans kids just are dealing with regular life stuff. And, you cannot put a label like that on a child who's trying to figure themselves out. We all have been kids. This is the most important thing I can say about it. You and I both have been kids. We understand what it means to be a kid. You probably explored all kinds of things as a kid, maybe not your gender, but other kinds of things. So for me, I don't want to label these kids trans, because the most important part of my story and the story of a transsexual person is to get them out of dysphoria, not to put them into dysphoria. So if you're telling a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old, oh yeah, you can be the opposite sex, you're lying to that kid, because I did not change my sex. I changed my appearance. And so I feel like we're not trying to help these kids move out of this situation. We're trying to pull them into it, which is the biggest mistake we could ever make, because this is not easy. I didn't transition until the age of 30. And you can't put this heavy stuff on a child to make such an incredibly it's irreversible choice. I can never go back to living as a woman, ever.
Yeah, definitely. Just a quick introduction of everyone here. I personally, I am a straight, as they would say these days, a cis male. I don't like the term either, but
don't.
I'm a straight man who's married to a woman. I have 2 daughters, and one of my daughters is very tomboyish, and like we wondered if if how she was going to go. We've just told her that like wait till you're 18, and like that. And she's grown into like just more of a tomboyish type. She's really into theater and stuff like that. So like I have a lot of empathy and a lot of concern about these areas. This is something that I'm particularly concerned about, because I have a daughter that we wondered at some point whether or not she was going to become trans like yourself. And Jeff, of course, he is a gay man who is also kind of on the conservative side, and a little more conservative than he is liberal, and he's also a Satanist, a Satanist who is non-theistic. And then we have Lib here, who is I'll let Lib introduce himself.
Yeah. So I am I'm Liberty. You can Libby, whatever. Doesn't really call me slurs if you want. It doesn't really matter. I am a transgender woman, which means that I am biologically male, and I have only begun really social transition. I wouldn't describe myself as a transsexual because I haven't even been on HRT, none of that sort of thing. All of my transition has basically just been social, so I refer to myself as transsexual, sorry, transgender, not transsexual. Sorry, I misspoke there.
Right.
Just to
Well,
make
that
that distinction.
that establishes, I guess, everybody. Is there anything you want to say? Anything I didn't cover, Jeff? Anything you would like to say about yourself?
Well, I'm interested in Lib's thoughts on what Buck, Mr. Angel had to say about the trans kids, like not locking them into an identity that early with this label trans.
Yeah. No, actually, that's one of the things. It's one of the I think my issues with when this discussion comes up and people will talk about data that has been gathered on this so far, and there has been quite a bit. There've been people who've been talking about this and trying to figure things out about this. So I'm not trying to say it's super cut and dry. In fact, it's very not cut and dry, and there's still a lot of I think work and polish that can go into the way in which we care for kids when it comes to like these kinds, and not even actually just these. Mental health for young adults and for kids is like in a really early stage right now. There's a lot of like, we don't quite know a lot, because we know we need to treat kids very much differently than we treat adults, but we're not quite sure in what ways we need to, and all that other stuff. And like testing for that, you can't like do that in like an ethical way other than trying to find the most ethical way to treat somebody and then see what the results of that are going to be, and then keep reiterating and keep people to keep publishing their findings until we find, because like you can't like I know people will talk about, there's a certain kind of study, double-blind study that isn't really done is it double-blind? I think it's double-blind, that isn't really done as much in medical research, because it's unethical to do, because like it'd be like it's to do a double-blind research, you'd have to withhold treatment from people who you think would benefit from the treatment, and it's like, well, that's kind of messed up. You can't like ethically withhold treatment if you think that the treatment's going to help, that kind of
Well,
thing.
the problem and I agree
Yeah,
on
it's
some
just
level.
one of the, yeah.
Yeah. With that, here's the issue that I have as an elder in the community and somebody who did transition 31 years ago,
Yeah.
and who was a kid who probably did struggle with dysphoria. I will tell you that the best thing I ever did was to live through that situation, challenge myself, try to get myself out of the dysphoric space. I lived many lives before I transitioned, and of course I struggled. There's no doubt about it. And this idea that now there's a difference between struggling and really just not wanting to be on this earth.
Yeah.
And those are things we need to understand the difference in. But that being said, I do know there are studies about this, and they have stopped transitioning children in many other parts of the world, specifically because they say it doesn't work, and they don't have enough medical information to know if this will. Now, that being said as well, we must look at detransitioners. We must look at the rate of these young people deciding that they made a mistake. It's huge. I think that the trans community is hiding a lot because they think it's going to affect us in a negative way. And I'm going to tell you that I disagree. I
don't
think we
it's gonna
need to have
hurt us.
those facts. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's vitally important, because
Yes.
I mean, it not even just from like a optics perspective, like, oh, we're hiding it, but like from, I think it's worthwhile to look at detransitioners, because they're the kinds of people who the system would have, I mean, I guess, failed, because like they would be the people who, I guess, depending on like how far along their detransition route, like some people, oh wow, they might have some cringy pictures because all they did was socially transition, but some people like have undoubtedly have like gone on like HRT and stuff like that, and detransition from that, and there are consequences to that, and
Totally.
I think the system needs to be made to where like the only people who really even are given these life altering like choices are people who really might stand to benefit from it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you
Yeah.
saying that. You know, more of our community needs to be like this, where I mean, I'm willing to have conversations. I'm not
No,
hardlined on
yeah,
anything, but I do believe
concur.
children are being put into a situation that is not fair to the kid and to the parent. You know, I'm also a parent,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's fair to push a parent into a space with fear, right? Because these ideas that your child will off themselves, and these are fear
Yeah.
tactics that don't
Yeah.
need to be presented to a parent or a child. We need to figure out
Yeah.
what's going on with your kid.
Yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, I don't really like. I guess with all due respect, I've seen a lot of fear mongering about these tactics being used, but I just haven't seen. Like, I guess I've seen, you know, like whatever edge lords on the internet, you know, debate
Yeah.
bros using that kind of language.
Yeah.
But you know, from like, especially from like the scientific community, I have not seen, at least thankfully, evidence of that. You know, like if you look at you know, all the medical institutions who, like, you know, will talk about gender affirming care and stuff like that. They're not talking about how, like, oh yeah, better to have a living daughter than a dead son or something like
Yeah.
that. It's like these medical institutions aren't the ones who are making
Yeah.
it. Like, there are individuals who are, and we definitely should be calling out individuals like that, because I don't
Yes.
think that kind of language even is helpful.
Agreed.
Well, the topic of mental health came up, and several of us are involved in mental health, and I'm wondering about the topic of exploratory therapy, and it seems to have been controversialized by
Yeah.
some trans activists. And what you're describing about not labeling someone trans
Yeah.
like I went through. I'm gay, and I went through exploratory therapy when I was
Mhm.
in my teens, and it really helped me.
Wow.
And so
Mhm.
that would be the time for exploratory therapy. It
Totally
is,
agree.
and but because from within the trans activism community itself, there's so
That's
much
right.
effort to stigmatize exploratory therapy as a form of conversion therapy
That's right.
because you don't instantly validate a trans identity, therefore it's transphobic, et cetera, et cetera.
It's insane. Why would we do that? First off, what if this kid is gay? I actually lived as a gay woman for many years of my
Yeah,
life, and I do not feel that that was in any way, shape, or form against who I am today. In fact, it made me a better person. I actually value my time as a gay woman. I value the experience I had there. It just wasn't for me. And at 30, I could make an actual rational choice at 30. And 30 years ago, I made this choice. So you can see that I made the rational choice because I did live through some lives. And so that being said, right, I do believe we don't have therapy. We have affirmation therapy. That's insane. That is actually insane.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and affirmation therapy is not necessarily the wrong approach, but it comes after exploratory therapy. You have to know
That's
what it is
right.
you're affirming.
Yeah.
That's right. And they're
No.
not. So they're not even having the question. The minute, and I know I work with a lot of therapists who are very upset about what's happening, and we're now
Yeah.
starting to push back on this. But
Yeah,
even as therapists, they're not allowed to ask these kids certain questions because they'll be considered transphobic. I'm like, what? When I went through therapy, I got hardcore therapy. That therapist wanted to make sure, like stuff like,
Yeah.
what's a man? Buck, what do you mean you want to be a man? You don't think I had
Yeah.
to sit with that and think, what is a man? I have no idea.
Yeah.
30 years later,
you still don't know.
I
what
still don't know.
Yeah, no, I understand what you mean, like, entirely. Like our big focus here on this channel, by the way, just to give you an idea, like
Yeah,
our two main focuses are mental health and
great.
community building. Like what our big thing is like we're really like I personally, my personal philosophy is that building communities around around shared interests and shared goals
Mhm.
Shared values.
is
Yeah,
the way and shared
yeah,
values is the way forward in society. And
that's right.
that's what we that's part of the reason I was so attracted to your content and so attracted to,
Thank you.
you know, we started watching, you know, you and Blair White and what's his name,
Marcus,
Marcus, yes,
yeah,
Marcus Dibb, yeah, Marcus
yeah,
Dibb, and
And
we started
Xander
watching, and like,
Craig.
and we'd love to have any of them on as well. But
great.
I mean, but like, one thing I love about all three of you guys is that you all focus on mental health and you all focus on
Yeah,
the idea of community and community building. And that's what we're all about here. Like that's what like this podcast is just a hub, a daily conversation we have that works towards our Discord community, we're trying to build communities that we eventually want to, like, we really want to make IRL communities and try to build stronger bases for people to, like, because I feel like a lot of these problems that people have with trans people or gay people or whatever it is they have, I feel like that all goes away once you actually live with people and you actually interact with them and you actually understand them, like, you actually understand them and you don't see them as like this weird outlier type thing. Of course, that's what we call ourselves, outliers in exile, because we are all kind of outside of the
Yeah,
norm.
we're the outliers of the
mainstream.
outliers.
Me
Yeah,
too.
You're in the right place. Speaking
yeah.
of community, we have a couple of more panelists that would like to come on and join the conversation,
Awesome.
but I want to
Excellent.
keep the focus on you. I just want to get your okay
Whatever.
first.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
We have Mr. Steve Jarret-Jordan
Hi.
and Mr. Roenn, the
Hi.
digital
Hi,
imp.
guys. Hey.
Yeah, each of you guys have a question or something that that you have for Mr. Angel.
Or just join the conversation about,
Yeah, just join the conversation.
and
Well,
that goes for the audience too. If you have comments, just feel free to type them and
Yeah, type them in.
we'll
We'll be
pass them
happy
along.
to relay them. Yeah.
so I exist in a community that's heavily on the left. I'm probably a little bit more on the right compared to them, but I started a men's mental health support group, and at that point in time, I had to decide whether or not we were going to have trans men there or not. And what I came to the conclusion of is that I don't know what I can offer them as far as help or guidance, because there's such two vastly unique situations and where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And when you're socialized as male from birth, there's a really wide gap there. If you didn't get that, if you didn't understand that, it's hard to explain to somebody that didn't. And so what we do is we still do outreach for trans men, but the group itself stays pretty I guess you would say cisgendered, right?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. I don't use that term. But men, you're men.
Everybody knows what that means usually. So
I know.
Yeah,
It's just, you know what? You're a man. I'm a transsexual man. There's like, we're totally different. And what you're saying is, I will
respect
tell
that
you,
so
I
much,
agree with
yeah.
you, my friend. I totally agree with you. And I don't think there's anything wrong with what you're saying. And I don't think it's transphobic in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I really do. The problem then, the problem becomes, at what point can we start doing that for us as a group? That's something that we struggled with, and we're trying to decide what our next step is for that.
Great.
If we combine them, if we keep them separate, that's just the problem is that men and mental health are like oil and water.
Yeah.
They don't
I-
mix.
I disagree, but that's a conversation for
As a
another day.
culture,
I mean, it's
Jeff.
As a culture,
cultural
it's
thing.
pretty
I will.
clear.
That's true. Now,
Yeah.
I want to just say that I love that you're even considering it. This is where this part of this newer community, I come from the community from many, many years ago, and I had gay men welcome me into groups, but some gay men weren't comfortable. What did I do? I left. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. This new generation, I feel like they're pushing you to accept them for something that are not, without having any understanding that you also need to have boundaries. Boundaries are important in the world for all kinds of people. So I highly suggest you create a third group, and that third group could say the guys who are the gay men who are super cool with the trans guys, and the trans guys who are super, you guys can create a third group or whatever, a second group, right? And that should be fair enough. You should not have to admit trans males into your space if even one person is uncomfortable with it, because then you're not going to have the strong group where people are comfortable around the other people. That's what those groups are for.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
This is just what I needed to hear today.
I have no argument against that. It's difficult because when you're when you're in a place and you're trying to help people as much as you humanly can, there's always those doubts and those concerns that come across, especially when you work in a heavily left-leaning area, like my community, and even that community itself is bifurcated between opinions on multiple accounts. I did a podcast with 3 of my friends, on my channel, and it was basically I work in conservative areas, in conservative groups, so that we can try and hopefully bridge the gap between left and right.
Good luck.
Yeah, I've actually had really good.
We do
I've actually had really good results from that.
Oh, great. I mean, you know, when we're talking left and right, we're not talking far and far, right? We're talking more the actual real, you know, left and right. And I do think that's the reality that we're missing here. We're supposed to work together as left and right, right?
Yeah,
It's not democracy. We're supposed to find a solution. And I don't feel like that's happening in this country anymore. I feel like the far left and the far right are just in their own space, and they have no desire to create a solution. You will never create a solution without coming together and coexisting. It's real basic. And here's what I don't. It's important. That's right.
Both perspective. It's like we're all part of the same body in a sense. That's right. Like we're all part of the same organism. And if we don't have those two perspectives, it won't ever get balanced. Like you can't. Excellent. No individual person has a complete balanced perspective on political issues. Like we need people on the left, we need people on the right, we need both those people. That's what we try to do here in this space. Excellent. Like Lib is a very liberal person. Rowan's a very liberal person.
Excuse you.
Yeah, those
I
are
am not liberal.
Lib is commie. Rowan is woke progressive.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Buck.
A centrist in like the most
Christian nationalists.
An extreme centrist. I'm not a Christian nationalist now.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Buck.
Did you want to
get in?
Beliefs on the right and extreme beliefs on the left. I have both.
Yes.
I believe in socialized healthcare, and I also believe in capitalism. So, like, you know, I have both of those things. Yeah.
Well, socialized healthcare is kind of centrist now. All right.
Yeah.
That's still a pretty left policy in my spaces, but
yeah.
But
the situation is that I went into these groups. I said, hey, you know, if you could ask a trans person anything, what would you ask them? And so I took that list to that discussion, and what my viewership saw was three very completely different ideas and positions on multiple different things. Some were for gun rights, some weren't for gun rights. Some were for child transitioning, others were not for child transitioning, others were for a more cautious approach. And what that did is it kind of gave conservatives the conservative groups that I belong to a better idea that the things that they're being shown by these people that make money off of the division of our country, they're not being honest. They're showing these TikToks of the most extreme versions of what the left is, and then stamping on that, oh, this is how all the left is.
Okay.
And, you know, my friend from Africa, he's from Nigeria. He used to vote, you know, he wanted to vote for Trump if he could. He was a conservative. And now he's out there lambasting conservatives because of their stupid arguments. So it takes being in proximity with people with different ideas to be able to understand them and to humanize them.
Yes.
And that's kind of what that goal was. So I see like this huge chasm of misunderstanding and a lack of courage, without a lack of a better terminology, a lack of courage keeping people from talking. So it takes people there in the middle to be able to make those connections with people.
I feel like we're all kind of middle ground people here, and you know, solutions.
Card-carrying libertarian right here.
I mean, I'm literally a Democrat, but I'm not comfortable in that space anymore. And I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I'm not comfortable.
Look, hey, Buck, we can get along. I also fucking hate Democrats. There we go.
I never thought I would say that in my whole life. It's hilarious.
I had a question kind of to piggyback off of that a bit for you, Buck. And it's in terms of having dialogue and having a balance of, you know, being, I would say, broadly pro-trans and also critical of excesses of, you know, certain elements of the trans movement. And I wrote this down because I didn't want to mince my words here, but I see a lot of creators online, some are trans, some are not, who, you know, they claim to simply be critical of the excesses of the trans movement, but all they focus on are the worst, most insane examples of things that trans people do, right? And so because of that choice of, you know, that focus, that framing, that emphasis, they end up coming across as, and I think kind of ultimately just serve the interests of genuinely full stop anti-trans people. And they kind of get co-opted by that part of the right.
Right.
And, so I guess my question for you is how ought somebody balance this? Like, how do we criticize the excesses of a broad movement, but keep the central movement or the central message one of support? And do you feel like people have a moral obligation to do that?
First,
excellent
yes,
fucking question, dude.
it's an excellent question, and I'm not sure if I can 100% answer it. And again, and these are all my own opinions, right? So that being said, I think you're right. People are picking stuff and saying, "Oh, look, these crazy trans people," and then the other side is going, "But look, the other side hates us and they're trying to destroy us, and there's a genocide happening." So I'm going to first say both sides are playing into this. Okay. Secondly, I think what we need to do is what we're doing right here. Okay, because people need to start seeing more of a middle ground. Okay, trans people exist. I've been here for a heck of a long time. There's another person in the room who's trans. We are here. We are going to be here, and we're not going to go away. Now, I'm going to say this. The problem for me as an actual elder transsexual is I am holding my own community responsible for some of the damage that is being done here. As someone who's advocated for trans rights for 30 plus years, we didn't do it the way they're doing it today. They're doing it in a way that is very, to me, I see as negative, as pushing. You will never get people to accept you if you push it in their face. And I can tell you that. I travel the world. People like me. I don't have an issue walking the world. I mean, people that you would think are haters actually like me because I'm honest. I'm direct in who I am. I'm not hiding anything from you. I don't want to hide from you. I want to be part of the world. I want to coexist. I show that having different opinions as a trans person who also might agree with some conservative stuff, it shows that not all trans people are the same. We're like everybody else. We have this kind of person. We have that kind of person. We have so many different aspects. But to me, the problem, and I hope this is answering your question, is that now we have this idea that all trans people are this way and we're being represented by some crazy looking flag and by young people on TikTok. And these are the people who are representing me. And I'm like, wait a minute here. This is not what trans is. Let me explain to you. Trans is an actual disorder. Contrary to what people will tell you out there, that is not. It is a 100% a mental disorder that needs to be fixed by changing our outside to fit our inside so we can walk the world. That's a disorder. It is doing a disservice to the trans community by saying this is not a disorder and that anyone knows they're trans and that anyone can be trans. That was the beginning of the end of people accepting us. I'm telling you, people have accepted us for many, many years. When you start, so
right.
I guess to answer your question, we also have to really hold some of the people in the trans community responsible for giving the haters ammunition to push against us. So
I think it's also important though to remember that when we also talk about gender dysphoria being a disorder, which it is, it's a disorder in the same way that depression is a disorder. It's not a disorder in because there are definitely people who would be like, yes, transness is a mental illness and that's why we need to kick them out of society, and
that's right.
It's important that we understand that the kind of language we use, we do want to be specific with it because there are definitely people who will hijack parts of language to fit their own.
They did. That's why I don't
did.
call it. That's why I call it a mental disorder. It is not mental illness.
It is literally.
So you see that's all and right. And so I saw someone. Of course, people are going to bring up my pornography work, and that's okay. I have no issues to talk about that. But I just want to use that as an example. I never call it pornography. I do adult entertainment. Adult entertainment gets you to see exactly what it is. There is no such thing as CP.
I'm taking that.
They need to stop saying CP because pornography is an actual legal industry for adults, and it is not CP. It is child exploitation. And if you talk to any FBI agent, any police officer, they will ask you to stop calling it CP because then you don't understand the actual damage this is doing, not only to children, but to an industry that exists, that will continue to exist, whether you like to use it or not, right? Just like alcohol. You might not drink alcohol. Does that mean we should dismantle the whole alcohol space?
As I say,
No.
sex work is like, what is it? Like one of the world's oldest professions is
That's
sex
right.
work. Like,
It's
I
crazy.
personally, we watched the documentary you put out back in 2000.
That was awesome.
2006.
That was
you.
awesome. By
And
the way.
yeah,
Thank you.
and it's a really good documentary, and like, and I think that I think it's I really wish more people have seen it, because I
Yes,
think the
thank
way
you.
that you approach the pornography issue and everything like that. I'm a very sex positive person myself. I mean, I'm not like I'm not very promiscuous or anything like that. I never have been, but
Mhm.
I still support that. I still support
Thank you.
that ability to, just because I didn't live my life that way doesn't mean like I don't think that's
right.
okay. You know, I think that it's very, I think the work that you did in that industry was very important and very
Thank you.
and very meaningful actually.
you.
Like, because like I think it's funny, like they talk about, like, you know, you did scenes with trans women, and how it's
did.
essentially a heterosexual porn scene, and I think that's a really, you know, it's a really good point, you know, like that really, like, you know, I mean, even though I have no problem with homosexual, you know, porn or whatever, anything like that else, either, but at the same time, you know, like it really, like, it makes people think about those kind of things. Like, these are adults
That's
that are choosing to do these things. It has nothing to do with children and stuff
No.
like that. I think that's what the one thing we probably all agree here on, is that it's like the thing being pushed on children is like the only thing that's really
That was a
tripping
line. That
anybody
is a
up.
red line.
Yeah, that's the line, and that's where we
That's
get
right.
like, that's where things get tripped up, and that's the reason why we're getting this backlash now, which I think is horrible. I think
Horrible.
I think it's horrible how we're getting this backlash in the extreme right communities. These assholes that, like, you know, want to say like we need to eradicate transgenderism, like what Michael Knowles and shit like that. It's just so
I know.
stupid.
Speaking
just
of
so
extreme
stupid.
right, I'm going to bring in our right, one of our right elements
Oh
of
God,
balance.
I didn't expect you. I didn't expect you.
Fortunately
Okay.
for us, he has the laryngitis, and he says he can't really talk. So we'll see.
Hilarious.
But Buck, one question that comes up a lot that I particularly would like to know, and I've talked to Lib about this before. When they say they're fighting for trans rights, what rights are they fighting for that they don't have?
The great question, friend. And again, remember me being an elder. I'm like, damn, you have so many rights, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, geez, try to transition 30 years ago. But I don't want to sound like that old crusty dude who's like, well, you try it a million years ago, and you know what I mean? But that being
Back
said,
in my day.
yeah, totally. With my rocking chair, like, you know, you damn kids. But that being said, and I know I come off like that sometimes, but I need to keep the kids in check, because if you don't understand where you came from, how are you going to move forward? So sometimes they forget where they come from. So that being said, I'm going to tell you that I don't know what rights we don't have, because I literally can walk the world. I've changed my identification. Nobody knows. Like, I just do my thing. I got surgery. I paid for everything you see here. I paid for out of pocket. I worked jobs and jobs to save my money. Today, we have insurance, which is what the elders fought for, was to get this. That's why it needs to be a mental disorder. It's not this is not elective. This is actually a disorder I needed to do to fix. So by keeping it in the insurance space, my God, you can get everything paid for now. So back in the day, we couldn't get everything paid for, and we couldn't do that. So that's one thing I will say that has been hugely positive for trans people. And, you know, they're not getting the pushback people like me got. You know, I would get my prescription of testosterone and go to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy would be like, what do you need this for? Like, giving me the 3rd degree. I'm like, dude, I'm a transsexual. Nope, I'm not giving this to you. You're a woman. I'm like, what? Like, that's the stuff I had to do. I could go stories and stories of that. And I think it's important for the young generation to see what they have, because I don't think they even know what they have.
For what it's worth, the pharmacy thing still isn't like a fully solved issue. That pharmacy still can, like that's more of like a minor issue though. Most of the times you can shop around your pharmacies.
But now you can go on the internet, my friend.
Yeah,
you can literally go on the internet and get all your stuff sent to you in a box, a gift box, with like a ribbon on it.
Well, you have to have a prescription, because.
But you can get the prescription at the actual website. You can log in, make a 20-minute. I did it. I actually wanted to see how. Sure did. I'm not going to name the website because I'm after them legally. Because I think it's illegal. That is illegal. A young person from the age of 16 up can log onto this website, have a 20-minute intake with a clinical nurse, whatever that means, and 20 minutes later they take your credit card number and they send you a box of hormones. Seriously, I'm not kidding.
I'm not a
Yeah,
fan of that.
Nope.
That's a real uncomfortable.
Insane, you guys. Insane. I mean, come on. When I first started, I got my medicine from bodybuilders. That's how old school I am, right? And that's illegal.
No. I know some trans women who have some of them live in like other countries where like they still legally can't transition, and they're having to they're learning how to make estrogen like at a chemical level. It's really
bathtub mask, but
it's pretty easy.
That's right.
You just eat a lot of soy.
It's not safe.
No, it's not safe at all. No.
Which is why I am for these things being especially legal for adults. Like they should be legal for adults because we don't want this black market industry. The same ways I feel about the same way with the drug industry, for that matter. I feel like in general, drugs, like we would be much safer off if these drugs had some sort of government oversight and approval. Moose, one of our good commenters, Moose, he did ask about your opinion on the sports thing. I guess I'll throw that
sports. Oh, well, I remember I'm a biological female. Also, I was a pretty high-ranking female athlete back in the day. Adidas, Nike, all sponsored training for the Olympics, all that stuff.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
I understand females, and this was in the 70s and 80s, and I ran against the USSR, which basically those should have been trans dudes because they'd show up with a mustache. They literally show up with mustaches and like, bam. I'm like, what? They would blow us away. I'm like, this is insane. So basically, no, trans women, as far as I'm concerned, they should not be competing with women, and I don't think it's fair. And I'm actually really shocked that trans women athletes think that it's fair, and they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing, and they do have. It's just nope. That's my nope. Not until we can maybe figure it out. But I do think we should have a third category. I do think
it's one of those things. Like I always say, is until we have Star Trek technology, right? Until we have that Star Trek technology where like they can go in literally and have like a beam scanner that changes your genitals and your entire thing, or so like. And if that was the case, like I personally I realized that from like that show, The Orville, that there was an episode they did that was really, if you haven't seen it, it's really there's a series of episodes they did about a race of people that are all male and like they transition any female born to male at birth, and like it's this big thing, and it's really interesting. It really is. But one of the things that made me realize was that like I would have zero problem with any of this if it was actually that easy and that reversible and that simple and it was that safe. Like the main problem I have with like children and surgeries and all these things like that is that it's so irreversible and so dangerous. It's just like it's not something it's not easy. It's not a simple thing. You're committing yourself to a life of being at the behest of the pharmaceutical communities and stuff like that. It's just very, very weird.
It is.
We got what do you have a question for Buck Flo?
Or
iPhi.
Sort of. I'll wait a second. I'm just sort of getting situated. I'm in the truck.
This comment because this is we kind of do the same thing with autism. So even though it's a disorder, is normalizing and destigmatizing one possible solution?
Well, that's what I've been trying to do. I've been all over the world and back trying to normalize this, but in a way that says it's still a disorder. Trans people have always been around, but it's always been it is a very small group of people. It's a small disorder. It's not what you're trying to see. Kids today are identifying as trans. I don't identify as trans. I would never identify as trans. That's my disorder. I identify as a male.
Right. You identify as Buck.
But you said trans male.
That's what I've been saying my whole life. I've been saying like I don't identify as a straight male. I identify as Chris. I don't understand that mentality where you need to identify as a category. That's just weird to me.
It is.
It's so strange.
Get your white privilege going.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Rowan, go ahead. I mean, you know how it is around here.
So I actually had a follow-up question for Buck about what I said earlier in regards to the balance of criticizing excesses while still being generally supportive. I know that you're friends with Blair White, and y'all had a stream yesterday that I thought was really cool.
I watched it as well.
And I don't want to criticize her too much, but I just whenever I look at her YouTube page, all her titles say are things like I'm not stronger than a woman, says literal trans Hulk. Gen Z and Alpha are being brainwashed by woke cartoons. I mean, just like, and so it feels to me like there are people like her who I think may be well-intentioned, but it's like if all you focus on is that stuff, I never really hear Blair talk very much about the real like horrific things that trans people still experience, like the rates of assault. And I never see her really go after people like Michael Knowles or Matt Walsh, who are just genuinely not just anti-trans, but cruel to trans people. I mean, I know that Matt Walsh has publicly said that he doesn't want to have a compromise with trans people. He wants to publicly destroy and humiliate them, were his exact words. And I whenever I see, and not just Blair, but certain creators like her, they only attack trans people from the right, it feels like, and they never kind of counterbalance that. And there's this quote by this creator Destiny that I like a lot, where he says that you shouldn't fight in one whenever you fight in one direction for so long, you should pause sometimes to see who is standing next to you, right? And so what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think that not just her specifically, but that people in general should do a better job at counterbalancing that and saying, hey, let's go after the Matt Walshes and the Michael Knowleses too, and not just, rag on the newest, not non-passing trans person that like had a meltdown in GameStop this week or something,
Well, no, I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot to me as a trans person. And, a lot of the statistics that are coming out, though, I'm going to say are skewed from the trans activists. They're not honest. They're not at all. And it's not all trans people are out there getting beat up. I've been walking the world like this for a long time. I got beat up as a gay woman. I've never been beat up as a trans person. Okay. And I mean, really beat up in West Hollywood with dudes and baseball bats and all the whole thing. So that being said, not that trans people don't get beat up. They do. But I would say less today than they ever have, in my opinion, and from what I know. So that being said, also, you got to remember, Blair White is a YouTube influencer or celebrity, or what do you say, right? So we can't forget where these people come from. Knowles, Walsh, all of them, they're appealing to their group, right? That's what happens when you create a channel and you speak to a certain group of people and you start to create that sort of audience. And to keep that audience, you have to keep saying the same things to that audience over and over. Now, Blair is doing that specifically. Who's ever creating her titles, she's not doing that. You know that. She has a producer and all of that, and they're doing it for the algorithms. So whose fault is that? To me, that's the fault of the social media. Social media is creating these spaces for us to have to do that, and I have to do it too. I fought against doing reaction videos for a long, long time because I don't like the feeling it is. It feels very gross to me sometimes. It feels very much like so I try to do my reaction videos where I'm saying I'm not making fun, but I'm bringing attention to the nonsense coming out of the transgender community. For example, trans women have periods. No, they do not. They never will. You can't get your period. You're a biological male. Yeah. Why are we even saying this? So you see what I mean? So we as people in our community, Blair and myself, have to start to push back against it. It hurts people like us, like Blair and me. Then people start thinking we're pregnant. Men don't get pregnant. Trans men can get pregnant because they're biological females. It's so basic. It's upsetting to me because I've always been honest about my biology. You cannot be trans without your biology, period.
Your generation of trans, you come from my generation of trans people. That's how they used to be. There was no misgendering. Right. There was no dead naming. They didn't have any problem acknowledging. And so somewhere along the way in the new wave or the new generation, it changed.
Yes, Jeff, you are saying that language does change over time, as it is the case.
It does. But sometimes language shouldn't change.
No, we're not even talking about language changing. We're talking about entirely new concepts like dead naming and misgendering being introduced.
New concepts get introduced as time goes on.
I will tell you that
identifying two of those.
That I've pushed against the trans community for 10 years saying dead name. That is the most unbelievably damaging thing you can do to a trans person. If you don't accept where you come from, sorry, but you were born a girl. You probably had the name Susie. You probably struggled a little bit. Little Susie struggled. How dare you cut Susie out of the picture? And now you're like Tommy and forget Susie. I'm trying to teach these kids, in order for you to become a successful human being, you've got to accept everything in your life, whether it's good or bad. And by saying dead naming, you're acting as if that person never existed. Sorry, but they actually existed.
Sure. I'm of the opinion that I don't really like the phrase.
Wait, I want to hear Leah.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't really like
yeah.
the phrase dead naming. Like I understand the concept of it being
Sure.
damaging is like if someone is like, who is like, oh, I'm gonna, not refer to someone by the thing that they want me to in an effort to be mean to them. Like
That's right.
it's not a good thing. It's also not usually as damaging, especially after the first person who does it. Then you sort of like realize that, oh yeah, I just,
Yeah.
if someone's gonna be an asshole, then
That's
nothing I
right.
can do to stop them.
Right on, Lib. That's what I try. Like, you know how much crap I've gotten my whole life? You know what you do? Let me tell you what you do when people start saying names to you. You walk on the other side of the street. Don't waste your time. Argue. You think I argue with these crazy people on the internet? I'm a big blocker because you know what? If you block them out of your, I'm not going to waste 2 hours arguing about my biology. I'm just not going to do it. So I think we need to teach the young generation. They're using so much of their own resources to push against something that possibly might not change. Why aren't we telling them to look deep inside themselves and figure out what is it you're going to do for yourself? Is the transition going to help you? Are you really understanding that this is a lifelong medical? This is lifelong medical. It's not fun. I have to jab testosterone in my butt every week. It's not fun. I don't like it. I hate it, but it's part of the process.
And I think that's why the shows that you go on, so you've been on a couple of conservative shows.
Yes, many.
Do you believe that this level of honesty is the reason why, at the end of the day, they were still respecting your pronouns?
100%. I know.
You went on Charlie Kirk, right?
I debated Charlie Kirk, and he walked,
and he eventually respected your pronouns.
Me and him are like,
Blair White's pronouns.
That's right. I have to, and I hope you all watch that because you're going to see. I came to the table willing to have the conversation without hate in my heart, and without telling him he's a bad person, and letting him have his opinions. You've got to let people have their opinions because they're only opinions. He came to the table with a book. I'm not kidding you guys, like a folder of statistics. And when I sat across from him, I'm thinking, this is going to be totally fun. But by the end of the show, and we walked off, we actually shook hands, and he told me, I respect you, Buck. That's all I needed to do. And for me, I did it. I made some kind of bridge between me and him.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I want to say Roenn, like, just so you know, Blair White has pushed back against Ben Shapiro for, at least specifically, I've heard many times.
Yeah.
Like she does not kowtow to every like right wing thing. She is more than willing to criticize the right whenever they're wrong. I have never heard her criticize Matt Walsh, but I'm sure she would if there was something specific. So I'm just saying like that. I personally would love to talk to Blair. I know she lives in the same area as me. I live in Texas. She lives in Austin, I think. But I love to talk to her because I love to hear.
I saw her conversation with Shapiro, and she did offer some, light pushback, but I mean, I guess for me, my point is more, and like Buck, I would say that I agree with most of the criticisms that you make of that kind of stuff. So on like a substantive level, I think that a lot of things that you and Blair say, for that matter, are like valid, and they are like genuinely good concerns. I guess the issue that I take is more on a meta level, like with things like framing and emphasis and focus, and that's kind of more what I was trying to get at with Blair's content, because it's not just, and I'm sorry to like pick on her specifically, but just it's more, it's not just her thumbnails. It feels like the substance of that content and the substance of a lot of creators kind of like her almost starts to come across like their brand is that they are like the trans person that attacks all the crazier trans people. And it almost starts to feel like a weird, like they get tokenized by the right in this weird way to where they get to be like one of the good ones. And it starts to feel kind of gross and weird to me at a certain point, because again, we have to make those criticisms, but there is a way of doing it that I think comes across as like throwing your own people under the bus a little bit, because you just only.
I think that's the right fault, though. That's not Blair's fault. That's right. That's the right fault. Right.
Who's that younger trans man that you spoke to a while ago? He's got the glasses. I believe he's from Europe.
Marcus. You're talking about Marcus. Yeah, I think.
So he does that. He is very good at being very even keeled in that sense. What's his YouTube channel? Because
it's called the offensive tranny.
I reached out to him too. I haven't heard back from him, but
he's a good kid. If you need him,
I really like to talk to him.
I'll try to get him for you. Yeah.
I heard you refer to yourself as Tranpaw.
I love that name. I
love
think
that one.
transpa or tranpa is just hilarious to me. Like me and my wife love
Right
it all
on.
the time.
Thank you.
We're like,
I'll
we're
put
like,
on
we're like
Marcus's
we
channel.
wish we had a transpa. Anton, you haven't had a chance to ask anything. Like I really want to hear what you have
Yeah,
to say.
Anton and Flo, we only have 10 minutes, so I want to give Anton
Yeah.
and Flo a chance to come in,
I'll-
and then I want to let Mr. Angel wrap up. On
I'll be
whatever he
really
wants.
quick. Quick thing about myself, I grew up in a liberal conservative home, but I was more liberal. I have much more liberal intuitions. But ever since maybe 2013, somewhere around there, just like things have gotten kind of weird and opened my mind up a little bit. Specifically, I was wondering if you could speak to the idea that there's a distinction that we should be aware of between biologically induced gender dysphoria and socially induced gender dysphoria.
Right.
Because I feel like biologically induced is, something that happens between the age of 2 and 4. It's very early on. And socially induced is something that just seems to be happening in the last 5 to 10 years, where people are going to college and they're getting queer theory kind of shoved down their throat. And they think, oh, well, I'm a man, but sometimes I like putting on eyeliner. That means I'm a whole new gender. Or, I'm a woman and I like playing football. So I'm a whole new gender.
Yeah, that's right. No, thanks for saying that,
the whole
friend.
ladies.
It's sad to me because a lot of these kids are detransitioning after actually removing their breasts. That's why I'm a gatekeeper. I don't care what anybody says out there. I am a gatekeeper because I'm a gatekeeper for a reason. Because if we continue to let this happen with these college kids who are just whimsically becoming trans, and remember what I said earlier, that the social aspect of it is an identity choice. They all want to be trans. The biological medical aspect of it is that we want to be men and women. We don't want to be trans. So you have to see the difference in their terminology, the way they come at it, and they don't necessarily want to become passing, which is another term that now is be considered derogatory on some level. The whole point is crazy. The whole point of me doing this is so I look like all you dudes here, and we can all walk the world together. And nobody has a question.
And you do. And you do. Like, no way. I've never saw a picture of you that was like that's a woman. Like everybody, they're like that's a woman. Oh my god! Like they all get all shocked, and I'm like, well, no. I say no. Like that's a man, but like they used to be a woman, and like like people get so shocked about it. But like, I mean, seriously, I've said before, you look like more of a man than I do. So.
Well, I don't know about that, but thank you. That means a lot.
When I switched devices just now on the shift, I showed my girlfriend what was going on, and she goes, "He's got a really nice beard. That's better than most born men can grow."
A lot of dudes say that. It's so funny because men are always like, my beard. They're obsessed with my beard. I'm like, dude, this took 30 years. Yeah. So it's not, don't touch my beard.
Yeah.
But,
a lot of dudes have been working for longer than that. And still,
right on.
Yeah. So you consider yourself a bear, Buck?
A bear?
You consider yourself a bear?
Well, I guess I could be a bear. I'm pretty hairy, like everywhere. That's one thing they don't tell you when you're becoming a man. Yeah. You get hair everywhere, and you all know what I'm like, what? No one told me this. It's insane.
Well, yeah, I know we're getting close to time here. I know we're getting close to an hour. This has been such a pleasure. I'm so happy you came on. I hope you'll come back in the future.
Of course.
Me and Jeff, I know any of us would love to come on your show anytime and talk as well.
Let's do that.
And I hope you'll like consider maybe just like becoming part of our community in as much as you can. I know you're very busy. You're a very busy person, but I think it bridges like this, like creating connections like what we're doing here. I think it's really important. I think it's not just important in like a sense of like for internet communities. I think it's important for the world. I think it's important like because like whatever is coming in the society next. My focus, my passion, my life goal is to build the best raft we can for the flood that's coming.
It's coming.
I think that building that raft is all about building connections between people and creating a solid like foundation that we can all stand on and keep creating and keep speaking freely about who we are and being individuals and focus on individuals and not categories and like these kind of things. And I think it's just like I have so much respect for you, Mr. Angel. I really do.
You.
I have spent hours and hours watching your content. Me and my wife both have. We've been fans of yours for a long time.
Are you drinking when you're doing it?
And Flo wanted to get a question in too.
Yeah.
So earlier you were talking about trans being a disorder, which I would definitely agree with. My question is, it is unique from any other disorder that I know of in that if you look at it from just a cold logical standpoint, the decision to alter a perfectly healthy body dramatically in order to suit a desire, which is not even in the desire is tied to cultural perception, right? You're undergoing, you're cutting off part of your body to conform to what the person wants to be based on society's expectations.
That's right.
That sounds to me like it's not helping the disorder at all. It sounds like it's enabling it.
Right. And I can understand that you saying that, but you're talking to somebody who actually has the disorder and somebody who actually transitioned 30 years ago. And it's done nothing but changed my life. Never do I think about offing myself. Never. I've created businesses. I'm a very successful human being. I'm a married person with a child. I move forward in my life. I am hugely successful only because of this situation. Now, that being said, it is exactly why what you said, I do not believe a young person can make this choice at all. This is something you have to understand. You can't make this choice if you don't go through puberty. Puberty is, I mean, the fact that they want to block puberty is when you actually become a male or a female. Prior to that, you're like a kid and you don't know anything, right? You don't understand what it means to be a boy or a girl. You just don't. And until you go through puberty, when that is, we all know, the next step to adulthood. So that is why I'm suspicious of why they want to block puberty, why they want to give all of these irreversible surgeries to 16-year-old girls. Do you know that there's a 4,000% increase in young girls, not boys, wanting to transition? We must look at all of these factors because girls come to the world in a different way than boys do. I'm not going to say it's more difficult. It's just a different way that you're more sexualized as a young girl. Your boobs start growing. You're uncomfortable. No wonder girls want to cut their boobs off.
And autistic girls too. There's a big correlation.
Autism
and neurodivergence too.
That's right. That is exactly right, my friend. So I get what you're saying and I understand what you're saying, but as an adult, you should be able to make this choice if it's going to help you move forward in the world. That is all I can say about
I agree.
that.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I absolutely think that should be the adult's choice. I think if we approach it, but logically, there's no reason to say, except for cultural, that I can see.
Yes,
it's
that's
trendy
right.
now. It's trendy.
That's right. It's
And I'm
trendy.
concerned that in 20 years, we're going to have had a cultural fizz that will leave a lot of people screwed up because they needed mental help. They got a physical altercation, and I'm glad it worked out for you.
That's right. But
that,
I went through a
doesn't
lot.
Necessarily mean that the issue was a biological one.
That's right. No, so right. I understand exactly what you're saying. But remember, I keep telling everybody, you can't figure this out unless you go through a lot of therapy, not 20 minutes on the internet. Like, what? That's insane. Or TikTok, all your friends are telling you, oh, you're trans because you're kind of masculine. And then all the lesbians are being left. All the gay men are being transitioned to women. Like, what's happening, people? We've got to get people out of dysphoria, not into dysphoria. We're telling kids that they're trans just because they want to be different than somebody else. That's putting them into dysphoria. We're not giving them a chance to even live life and try to you've got to let kids struggle. As a parent, I will tell you that. My kid 100%. Struggles. My kid struggles like he's not getting what he wants until he does certain things. That's a struggle.
I think that's part of the reason why a lot of us are so how would you say this, judgmental of the trans community is because of how they treat detransitioners, like
that's right,
like Chloe Cole.
Oh my God.
And various other ones, you know what I mean? It's like,
I know you talked to her
at some point,
she's
you
my
have
friend.
to take accountability.
I've seen your interview with her. It's really good.
You know, and it's like,
yes,
you know, at what point are you going to take accountability for your influence on that person? And not only that,
that's right.
The detransitioners tend to get booted out of all of the communities they belong to. Now they don't have a support group. And if suicide was really a fucking concern, why would you not be paying more attention to these individuals that need your help, your love, and your care?
There you go.
And I think that's the part that I personally I take issue with the trans community.
Me too.
Is they're socially outcast the moment they say, you know what, I'm not sure
That's
that
right.
what I'm doing is right.
That is exact. Thank you so much, my friend, for saying that. I have a huge heart for these. I could cry telling you how sad these stories are. How dare we let the young girls, I'm friends with Chloe Cole. I've spent a lot of time with that young girl, and she got duped into something that she'll never get out of. She's not going to be able to have kids. She can't have boobs anymore. She can't. There's just so many levels of this. And then the trans community hides it. That's why I'm telling you, they're disingenuous, this new trans community. If they were so actually secure in what they are saying, they would not hide detransitioners, they would not hide studies, they would not be doing what they're doing to children. In fact, we would try to, I'm going to tell you this before we're going to end here, that when I was transitioning, we never ever talked about kids. We always said kids should never transition, ever. When I was in the gay community, we never let kids in the gay community, or NAMBLA. Do you remember NAMBLA? They tried to
kick them
squeeze
out of our
it.
parades.
That's
They wanted
right.
to march. We told them hell no.
That's right, dude. That's
Fuck
right.
NAMBLA.
Yeah.
Fuck NAMBLA. So that's what I'm saying. Weird stuff is happening in the guise of LGBTQIA plus PP poo poo. Like, what's happening? It's insane, you guys. It's not right.
No, yeah.
It's not.
Well,
So
thank you
that's my
so
2
much
cents.
for coming
Thanks.
on, Buck.
Well,
We appreciate
you're
it.
welcome anytime.
Love it.
You're welcome
We're here every
anytime.
day, 7 days a week. Drop
Excellent.
by anytime.
I would love that. Thank you, guys.
But I'll be in touch.
Join the Discord.
I'll be in touch with you, and like,
Oh, God, no.
We'll set up something again in the future.
Okay, great.
You're welcome to join our Discord if you ever
Yeah,
want
we'll
to stop
Discord.
in. Like, you're welcome to.
Yeah, I
I'll send you
will.
an
I
invite,
totally will.
But like we totally would. We'd appreciate your presence anytime. I think that, and like I said, I plan to. I'm trying to reach out to several other people right now. I want to
Just
keep
reach
these
out to me if I
conversations
can
going.
help you. Yeah, if I can help
I
you,
will.
just reach out to me, because I love all your energy. Thank you guys so much for welcoming me here. Thank you for not agreeing with everything I say. Thank you for having actual discussion. Thank you for really wanting to repair the world. This is about repairing the world. And I can prove to everyone out there, I just hung out with a bunch of dudes and you guys don't even care and it's all good. You see what I mean? That's what I want the world to see. Like, if I come to you honestly and you come to me honestly, we can disagree. We can literally disagree and move forward in the world. And we have bigger problems in the world than worrying whether or not somebody needs to have transition at 3 years old. So with that, thank you guys.
Community.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you
Have
so
a beautiful,
much.
awesome day. And I'll see you guys.
so much.
Yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you as well.
Here, I'm gonna drop Buck's channel one more time.
I just
That was
followed him on
good. I
Twitter.
feel like we just barely scratched the.
Yeah, I was about to say
Yeah.
I had pulled up so many things when I was.
I didn't even get.
Well, if Chris didn't spend so long kissing ass.
Chris did a great job. Come on now.
Chris
Was
did a
it
great
an
job.
ass kissing? Was it his just normal ADHD?
I know.
I just like how Chris is always quiet in a lot of our conversations, and then just fucking comes in with a fucking wrecking ball and just fucking nails a good commentary.
Yeah, no, I
I
think
was
so
at a
too.
job site and my
I
phone
try
was over.
to
listening on my
follow
phone.
that maxim of, like, only speak when you have something to say. So anyway, no, but hey, so let's open it now that we've got the panel.
Well,
up.
iPhi
what
wanted
does
to say
anybody have
something. He didn't get to. I didn't want to give him the last word, so he didn't get to get in. And then he also
Poor
mental
guy.
health. A lot of mental health stuff came up.
Oh, I heard you announce him. I heard you say
And I'm
far-right
interested in
person's
Lib's
coming up.
response to what Buck says, because that's kind of stuff I've been saying that I think Lib might have some counterpoints to.
Yeah,
My
iPhi,
voice
take it
is
away
dead.
if you can.
I did want to thank Roenn, because I thought that Rowan's question was very, very well thought out. I appreciate that he wrote it down. I think he definitely worded it in a much better in both iterations, both his initial one and the follow up. I think he worded them very well, and I think the only thing that could have improved it would be if he had held Buck's feet a little bit more to the fire and had more specificity.
Well, you could have done that too. You had the
The problem comes when there's 9 of us in here.
Yeah,
You know
and
what
I don't want
to. It might be good to just field questions and have just a very small panel asking them those questions.
Yeah. It was intended to start as a panel, but I was going where the energy was taking me.
No, and that's fine. I think what
I think it worked.
What happened was great. I think it was great.
It was more of a conversation than like an interview with Buck Angel.
Yeah,
I'm not necessarily satisfied with the response he gave to my question. If anybody has any thoughts on what would make trans unique from every other medical condition in that
it's not
Well,
all
that's
norm.
just
Not
it's
every
like
other.
semantics and how you categorize
No,
things.
I
But I
don't
want
not.
I want iPhi to get in, and then we can.
Okay.
Yeah, can
Okay,
you hear
okay.
me?
It's not
I'll
Yeah,
semantic.
we can
respond to
hear
you
you.
later, Flo.
Hey Jeff, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think everybody agreed that it's a disorder, but I couldn't hear if everyone agreed if it's a mental illness.
Well, Buck touched a little bit on why she does it, or he doesn't call it mental illness and uses disorder instead. So it's like disorder is replacing the old concept of mental illness.
Yeah.
So does
Mental-
anyone on panel believe that it's a mental illness?
I'm not aware that it is currently categorized as a mental illness. I think it is currently
Depends on-
categorized as a mental disorder, which is
I don't think it's a
Depends on
mental
what you
illness
mean.
either.
Like this is semantic. To me, this is semantic.
yeah.
We're all gonna have different definitions of what we mean by mental
I
illness.
mean, I guess
or
if you want to
disorder.
bring up a
I mean,
mental doctor
are you-
on, you
It's
can.
not semantic though.
Are you
The word
asking
means
what the
something.
well? It depends on what you're asking. Like, are you asking?
Is
Is it a?
Fruity Pebbles? Is that all you eat? Is like out of the 7-Eleven? Are you?
So explain to me how
those
a
are good. Those are good.
explain explain to me how a disorder is mental health. Maybe I'm misunderstanding the words.
Well, I'm asking you. Are you?
It's
Hang on.
semantics.
Let me look at. Okay, so what's the current DSM?
I think it's 5.
DSM-5.
DSM-5.
Well, like
Gender.
while you're looking that up, I'm going to respond to FlowState. I think my main difference that I would point out is that the main difference between trans and like say depression or something like that is that we have medications for depression and everything where you can take that, and if you can find the right one and get it balanced, you can level out those levels. We don't currently have any kind of pill that can change the part of your brain that makes you feel like you're female or male when you're born the opposite gender. If we had a pill, I don't know that I was gonna. It's something I want to ask him. But I didn't get to. It's a question I've had for a long time. If they developed a medication that literally you could take it and it would get rid of that disorder, I think a lot of trans people probably would take it. I think a lot of people wouldn't. A lot of the transgender types probably wouldn't, but I think a lot of people would because it would get rid of the dysphoria.
Yeah.
But we don't have that. We don't have that medication. We don't even have anything approaching it, and that's the reason why transitioning for those people is the best option to keep them from
It's the
feeling
only option
so
for
out.
alleviating the discomfort, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, because
Which-
if you have pain,
And also
if you're
when
stuck
you
in
say
pain, back pain or something, you have hydrocodone or something. You can take that and get rid of the pain, but you can't get rid of the pain of the gender dysphoria by taking I'm sure
So
there's some of these
I
people.
accept that actually as a treatment response.
Yeah, I was
Hey,
actually about to
FlowState.
say, when you
Oh,
say
okay.
like this is like the only option, like there's actually, I mean, what when we say this is like our only option, it's a wide range of like things, because like obviously
Sure.
you can do
I'm generalizing.
surgeries, you can do HRT, there's social transition, there's I was able to find, I pulled up one thing and it's what is it? It's the Gender Affirming Care and Young People from the Office of Public Affairs, basically talking about gender affirming care, what it is in like a very like academic. So you have like social affirmation, puberty
Clinical.
blockers, hormone therapy, gender affirming surgeries, and talks about what it is, when it's used, and whether or not it's reversible.
Hey, FlowState, can you hear me? Does the existence of D-trans prove that this mental illness can be cured?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't agree with Chris's claim about it being the only treatment, but I agree. I'm satisfied with the logical premise of why that could be a treatment option for the disorder.
Yeah.
So is that yes or no? I couldn't tell your response.
Ask me the question again. Sorry.
Does the process of D-trans prove that this mental illness can be cured?
No,
Cured,
yes.
like
I mean,
medically.
it can
What
be
does cure mean? What is
Okay.
It can
Thank
be
you.
grown out.
You're using very loaded language.
Let me qualify my
That's
response.
why I asked
Yes, it
Flo
does prove
if-
that the mental illness, which I agreed is a mental illness, can be cured.
Concur.
That said, it does not prove that actual transgender people do not exist. Well, okay, no, it doesn't prove that, because all it proves is that people who are not Anyways,
Well,
I'm
they
You
obviously
brought up the question whether it
exist.
was social or whether it was cultural or biological, right? So
Well,
there's two questions there.
if your mindset differs from objective reality, it's your mind that's wrong. I mean, that's just how
Culture is not a
But
biological.
what is the
problem.
line
Yeah.
between objective reality and subjective reality? Like philosophy's been working on that for
Objectively, you
history.
have X,
whether or
Y
not you can get
chromosomes or
pregnant
X.
without having an
Okay,
incident.
well,
I mean, like,
I'll be happy to know that you just saw.
there's not really a gray area when it comes to your biological sex.
Objectively,
No, but there is a gray area when it comes to objectivity and subjectivity. That's
Yeah.
the gray
And
area.
Liv, if
Jeff.
you're about to say hermaphrodites and stuff, that's
No,
not sex.
I,
That's
Hey,
just-
Jeff.
I actually wasn't. I was going to say
Okay.
that like the way sex is described, it's not a binary system, it's a bimodal system, which there is a
Explain that.
distinction.
What does that mean?
Basically, so like you have two modes, okay, and it's basically a big basket, and we put traits in different baskets, and then like people, yes, no, it creates a double, like the two curve thing. I don't know if you've seen those charts. I'll find it.
Sperm and egg, male and female, to reproduce. It's reproduction, right? This is a reproductive function.
Hey, Jeff.
Well,
Can you hear me?
Simple biology.
Yeah.
There are cases. Well, it's not as simple as that. There's occasions where you can have an XX chromosome but have a Y. What do they call it?
Carrier.
God, how do they put it?
That's not its own sex, though. That's a deformity.
So you can actually have a woman. I mean, she can reproduce. She can produce eggs. She can get pregnant, but she has an XX chromosome because the oh my God, what is it?
Well, I mean, this is a sidestep of the issue by putting out a one-off.
Yep.
In every species of animal, it takes a male and female to mate to produce offspring.
Except for
It's not complicated unless we try to make it complicated.
So there was a really good debate on Stephen Woodford's channel, Rationality Rules, where Stephen Woodford debates a biologist, and Peter Boghossian is there moderating it. I would highly recommend everybody go there and watch that video.
You have a link for it? I could drop it.
I don't have a link for it. Just look up Rationality Rules. I think the video was just barely released yesterday or the day before.
Oh, really?
I would highly recommend that.
I love
So what
Rationality
other
Rules.
ways can things reproduce besides a male and female?
Asexual.
How can you
Asexually.
breed dogs?
FlowState. Animals can reproduce asexually. Amoebas
Dogs
do it.
Dogs
Amoeba.
can split.
Amoeba.
I'm not even sure what the topic is anymore.
Sexuality.
It
I don't
started out
think it
with like
helps the
illness versus
discussion
disorder,
to-
and now we're on amoebas and how
So,
Because
I
FlowState.
don't think it helps the discussion to talk about animals or the animal kingdom. Maybe apes, but I don't think it helps anything to talk
FlowState.
about how sponges or amoebas.
Yeah, the sponges and amoebas don't. That because you're and I fit. How are people not getting the point?
FlowState.
In objective reality, to reproduce, animals need a male and a female.
Yeah.
FlowState.
Males. What do you want, Phi?
So not only do all of us humans have chromosomes that determine male and female, the other problem is our brain chemistry. So some humans have malfunctioning brain chemistry that doesn't match their chromosomes. And so they think it's okay to pursue your brain malfunction and identify as the brain malfunction.
Right.
That's
I
the
know.
problem.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to
yeah.
address. Yeah, never mind. Okay.
No, go ahead, Flo. Go ahead, Flo. I'm seriously, I want to hear what you have to say.
This is-
I mean, this is
I mean,
just
obviously, okay. So
using very
if
loaded
somebody
language to
feels,
describe this.
okay, 4-year-old Taylor, I thought I was a T-Rex, right? But I wasn't. Everybody knows I'm not a T-Rex. Some people have scalier, drier skin than others. Some people have bigger teeth than others. Some people have shorter arms than others. That doesn't mean that 2 human adults had a T-Rex child.
Sure.
Right, of course.
There's
yeah.
no ambiguity about that. No matter how many experts
Of
we want to
course.
have kind of fuck around in the
It's
the
simple
weird.
biology.
Well, they're
Yeah.
not
Right.
fucking around about
So
that.
FlowState.
So my
let me-
mindset
good.
obviously was the thing that was inaccurate. Did everybody
Yes.
agree?
It doesn't match
Mm.
biology or reality.
Now,
Correct.
apply the same principle to trans.
Exactly. You're
My
correct.
issue with the whole
FlowState.
topic is that people engage it with intellectual dishonesty through and through.
Yes. FlowState.
Hi,
That's
you're
the
not
problem.
helping me. I
I
know you
don't-
feel
I
like
don't
you are, but
feel-
you're not.
I don't feel like Black Angel was
Flo,
was
I appreciate how you recognize that iPhi was not helping you. I appreciate that. He was not helping your case.
I've listened to a lot of Mr. Angel's videos, and I've watched a lot of his stuff. I was catching up with his most recent stuff last night, even, and I do think that I didn't get to ask this question, but from what I understand of his view on it, I think he would agree that if there was a cure for it, if there was a cure that didn't require surgeries or hormone treatment or something like that, that I think that he would be very supportive of such a thing. I think he'd probably be supportive of people's choice to choose what avenue they want to take. Because I think everyone has the right and the option to decide what they put in their own bodies. If someone decides to go on HRT
You're
instead of
answering
taking a
kind
pill,
do you agree though that the issue is the mental problem?
Yes, it's mental illness.
Fixing it. God damn it!
It is
Fi.
mental.
Every time
It
I try
is
to talk,
mental.
you try to
Bye.
help me.
I thought
It
you
is
couldn't
mental.
talk and use your
Let Flo
voice, and you're
finish
still
the
managing
thought.
to hijack and interrupt.
You do sound rather weak though, man. I hope you. I
Yeah.
really
Do
hope
you
you're
have
feeling
a
better.
doctor looking at this at all?
Yeah, I'm interrupting and hogging the
iPhi, do you
conversation
have?
You
by
talk.
saying
Do you
talk.
have a
I didn't say you
doctor?
were. I just
okay,
genuinely concerned about you.
FlowState. So I like how you were agreeing with me until the libtard pointed out that you disagree with me, even though you can't point out why
I
you
agree
disagree
with you.
me.
I'm just making our point better.
I'm trying, but I can't voice. Fuck.
You
Anyways,
voice it
so
now. Okay, if you can't
it's a
voice, let's let somebody
mental
else talk.
illness. You and I agree, Flo. It's a mental illness is the problem. So the problem is everyone else in the room wants to be the enabler. They want to make people feel good about their mental illness. They don't want to cure it. They want to criticize you for pointing out that it's biology and reality and other things they don't like.
It's more effective if I ask questions and then let them walk the logical steps to the
Okay,
conclusion
I'll
that's
go back to
obvious.
lurking.
Then if you
Sorry.
just tell me what's happening, we know that.
I'll go back to
Flo's
lurking.
good for this. Yeah.
I've got a question.
I don't
Sure.
think that that's
Steve
necessarily
has
the
a
case,
question.
though. Yeah, go
What do
ahead,
you mean?
Steve.
So if what you're saying is that this resides in the brain and it's a dysfunction of the brain,
Yes.
how is that any different than homosexuality and conversion therapy? It's an aberration, is it not? So how do we treat that aberration?
Homosexuality isn't the solution to homosexuality is not self-mutilation.
But that's not the question you had, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, well, because I'm addressing the treatment. People are saying this is the treatment.
Well, the treatment is a very broad range of things.
Right, and at one time, homosexuality was considered a disorder, and conversion therapy was the treatment.
But what is the issue that the disorder is creating in the individual? It's mental and emotional discomfort, right?
Well, I'm sure it was uncomfortable for gay people to be straight, so to speak, in a time where homosexuality was not considered.
So in order to accommodate them and relieve that, we just had to let them do their thing.
Right.
We didn't enable it by saying, yes, you need to cut your penis off as well. This is what your treatment is.
No, it was alleviated usually by locking up homosexuals in mental asylums.
Yeah. I mean, that's not good treatment.
That's been years and years ago.
That's not good treatment either. That's
sure. You're right.
It's a mental thing.
They locked them up because they were treating them as if they were
I don't see how the two are related. What does that have to do with the fact that medical protocols clearly being deviated from here in order to enable? I agree with what he said earlier. It's a mental disorder, right? The disconnect between the body and the person's mind is a mental disorder.
Yes.
And I also believe that surgery can alleviate that discomfort for some people.
It's not even just surgery. It's the number of
Buck himself said it changed.
I know. I agree with that. However, he thinks that the disorder is a physical one, right? The body is what's wrong. I'm saying
the brain is
wrong.
The brain,
you can modify your body to appease your mind, but the mind is still where the issue is.
Yeah, no,
Right.
and
It's
actually,
whatever.
I've heard Buck talk about that quite a bit. Actually, he actually would agree with you on that. And I can say it pretty confidently because I've watched a lot of his content.
I did not get the impression, just based off the quick interaction, that he was.
Well,
gonna
we
agree with that
yeah,
there.
it was kind of truncated because of the short time we had.
But
But yeah,
anyways,
no,
regardless,
like
I'm talking to you guys now.
Yeah, like
so-
okay, so like I can say for myself, and you know,
Mhm.
being a part of a lot of trans communities
And
online,
Anton, please feel free to jump in and grab the mic
there's
anytime. I
yes,
know how
please,
respectful
Anton. I'd
and
love to hear
polite
from you, Anton.
and well
It's been a
behaved
long
you
time.
can be, but it might call for other approaches.
there's a meme that goes around about like the button, right? Like if you could just press the button and you could just become the other sex, right?
Mhm.
Like if you're a trans woman, right? You could press the button and you just were always a woman. That there's biologically you weren't born with a male body, yada yada yada. Would you do that if you could press the button? And it's like, yeah, of course. No shit. I'd press that button in a second. But would I also press the button if like I could alleviate myself of like the hatred of like, for instance, I get very dysphoric about like the amount of body hair I have. That's like the main source of that kind of dysphoria for me.
if you could press a button and get rid of all
If I
the
could press it, get
dysphoria,
rid of
How is
yeah.
that different from fat people wanting to lose weight or people wanting boob job? Like bodily dissatisfaction, and then you have what is it, elective?
Because
surgery
if
to
you're
correct it?
obese, that's the problem, because it's unhealthy, right? That's the sign of dishealth. So you can fix that by changing your lifestyle. Having a
Well, let's
penis or
say
a
it's not
vagina is
obesity;
not
it's just
unhealthy.
overweight. You just don't like your figure.
Well, I mean, I'm specifically talking about, for me, it's like with my body hair. Like, for me, it wouldn't even require. I honestly, I don't even care really about bottom or top surgery. Like, I just want, like, if I could press the button and not be dysphoric about any of this stuff, I would still live my life probably just about the same way that I do now, and not much would change about me.
I have a question.
That's
Sure.
interesting.
Because you're very reasonable. Like I've said it before, you're very reasonable and logical for somebody who has such reasonable illogical beliefs. On what planet does not liking how much body hair you have mean you're the wrong sex
Exactly.
Oh no, I'm not the wrong sex.
or wrong gender? I mean, like, how does this make you trans and not just a hairy dude?
So, because gender is a social construct, and it's a construct in the way that like we made up these categories, not like you and me individually, but our societies have made up these categories and
Sure,
made up
I'll go
what
with you.
goes in these categories.
Okay.
And what fits within man or woman is somewhat related to sex, but not always perfectly, right? Like, you know, men wear suits, women wear dresses. That's not really based on biology. That's like
That's a
If
culture
anything,
thing.
disliking how much body hair you have because there's too much of it would seem to affirm that you're a man.
Would it?
Wouldn't it? I would interpret it that way. I've got a whole bunch of body hair here,
Uh-huh.
which, you know, like, it just, I don't know.
I've seen hairy women.
I mean, regardless, body hair is not what determines that either way. But gender, as much as people try to detach gender from biological sex, the fact of the matter is, gender treatment is sex treatment, right?
Liv, I have a
I'm
question
Yep.
with the body hair thing. You said that's one of your like main points of dysphoria, but how does body hair get associated with gender? Like, I don't like that my body is hairy. How does it go from that to because I'm male? Because hair is male and I'm not male.
No,
Right,
hair is
Instead of I
male.
just don't like a hairy body.
Yeah.
No, I just don't like a hairy body. That's a form of dysmorphia for me. Like I have
Regardless
That's
of
neither
gender, like
male
yeah,
nor female.
regardless of gender. Yeah,
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
I was talking
It's just
about
a
like
personal thing.
I have like yeah it
Like if
causes,
you had the money, you'd go and get the electrolysis stuff where they permanently remove every hair from your body overall. Have you ever seen that movie Human Nature that Charlie Kaufman wrote a long time ago? That was Michel Gondry's first film. It's about this like the literal premise is like the female character in it. I think it's Patricia Arquette. She has a condition where she's covered in literally like wolf man like body hair, and she's like constantly paying all this money to get like this hair
There are
removed.
people like that.
Yeah.
There's a family somewhere in like I don't remember, Eastern Europe or some shit that.
Yeah.
Well, there's ones in Mexico. There's. A
Oh
whole
yeah,
family.
you're right there in Mexico. That's
Yeah.
You know, I was just talking about like you know, dysmorphia and like that's a thing that I experienced very heavily when I was, you know, a teenager. But you know, like, would you say it's like you know, it's bad for me to treat that with any sort of medication? What if I use medication to treat it?
Shave, I'd get laser surgery or whatever. I'd say it's confusion to think it has anything to do with what your sex or gender is.
Well, it has nothing to do with what my sex. Well, I guess it does have something to do with what my sex is, because if I wasn't born male, I probably wouldn't have as much of an issue with it as I do, because hairy body. While both males and females can have hairy bodies, the issue crops up a lot earlier in males. Like, it happened to me when I was like 11, is when I started growing significant amounts of body hair, which
that's just
pretty early.
I think that the stretch or the connection between disliking your own body hair and having anything to do with what your sex or gender is it's a hell of a stretch.
Not even, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Well,
I don't
you
think
heard-
I don't think anyone's ever debating what sex they are, because sex is like a thing that gets determined by the zygotes, like really early on in the
Most of the trans people I know don't deny their biological sex. It's the gender
But
that they have
they
the strong issue
then
with.
will in the next breath say that it's what is wrong, and the solution to their gender issue is a sex operation. So
for some people it is. That's not for everyone.
I mean, Mr. Angel himself never had bottom surgery, for example. He had top surgery, but never bottom surgery. That's why he did porn as a man with a vagina. So
which
is a man with a pussy.
A man with a pussy.
What an oxymoron.
Dude, I gotta say his clitoris is larger than Lonzo's dick. So
it's on the documentary.
There you go.
All right,
it's out there.
There you go.
See, that's
I think Buck's big issue is that you have the right to do what you want with your body. That was
I agree with that entirely. I agree entirely with
their body.
Adults can do what they want with their own body. My issue is with the gaslighting and enabling that society is. I've been to rehab enough times that when I see this shit, I'm like, well, that looks just like somebody telling an addict, you don't have a drug disorder. Society has a you disorder. You are the addiction. Go have another one. You know, that's exactly what it looks like to me.
But you have to be an adult.
None of this, I don't know, I don't need to buffer it, but none of this is intended as hostility towards trans people at all. Quite the opposite. I think I'm one of the few people who might give a fuck enough to put themselves in the situation of the bad guy in these conversations. But I mean, I don't think anybody can connect the logical dots for me on how this is not just enabling a mental disorder.
No, I'm saying disorder iPhi because it's the more we had that conversation.
I don't care
it's
if
it's the less controversial term.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about whether or not disorder or disease is more controversial. That's semantic.
Yeah.
Choose whichever one you like. The issue is in
that's what he's caught up on because he has some agenda around it.
Oh, because he's like has some agenda about using the term disease.
Yeah, because then it implies there's perhaps a cure.
Yeah, which which
is what would satisfy him.
And it obviously cannot be a disease. A disorder is a lower threshold.
Yeah, a disorder. It's like there are ways that you can help live with the disorder because like you have the disorder. Like it's just you have it. And what helps people is actually on a very individual basis as far as like gender dysphoria.
Hey Flo, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I would take it even a step further. I would say it's not even a disorder. It's just more like a social fad that we're going through. And so,
I mean, for some people it is. For some, it's really. I mean, like there's
that's
the
the
whole spectrum, but we're definitely
That's the
causing more
problem,
cases
Flo.
of false. It's being glamorized right now.
That's the problem, Flo,
Yep,
because
yep.
when you talk about like sexuality, we know hermaphrodites exist. We also know that such a small percentage of the population, that's not what the debate is about. But that's
Right.
what they bring up because they're bullshitters. That's all they can do is bullshit and lie. Likewise,
You're just not like you got to figure out how to be more effective in your communication.
Yeah.
What is your?
Can we get the
what is
seashell
point
back?
of
That
you
chart makes you
interacting?
look even more nerdy than
I
you
can't.
sometimes are.
What?
But what's your point? Is your point to grandstand and prove that you're right and everybody else is a douchebag?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
pretty much.
You got me,
You're
bro.
self-indulgent. You're not helpful. You're self-indulgent.
Attention
Okay,
seeking.
that's
you-
it. That's all I want to
You
say.
seem kind of like the douchebag right now.
I just wanted to be self-indulgent, Flo. You got me. That's it. That's all I
It's
said.
what you've been doing for 2 days now.
Because he's passive
Well,
aggressive and
but
needy.
don't feed him then if that's his motive. Don't feed him.
Well, I
He's
don't. I
just being
didn't
a
think.
By the way,
But
Flo,
I would like the seashell back. It
if
just
you-
looks good with all the other guests.
no, I'm good. I'll just leave the poll up just so y'all can see what
Just to
the
be
poll was back
contrarian.
in
What is?
Honoring.
2017 or whatever.
Can't even see it.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Make it full screen, Jeff, so they can see
No,
it. Or-
I want to move on in the conversation.
oh, okay. Don't show them. All right. Ignorance is strength. I agree. So FlowState.
I didn't
think,
mean you move on. I meant the group move on from you with the conversation.
oh, okay. Yeah. Don't talk to iPhi. He's just grandstanding and wants to.
No, I
feel
mean
special.
you can chip in, but I want to get us out of this little eddy that we're
Yeah.
caught up in. And
You start off with a good point and then you escalate. You know how Tommy starts off one place and then quickly escalates into out of control Tommy. You're doing that
Okay.
sort of thing.
I
I'm
don't know
sorry.
the Tommy
I'm sorry
that
you
starts
can't
out in one
control me.
place.
I'm sorry you can't control me, Flo. I apologize. But anyways, my point still stands that there is an important discussion to be had. It's not being had because people argue about hermaphrodites or they'll argue about brain chemical malfunctions, which is a legitimate topic, but is a very small percentage of the trans debate. The trans debate isn't that 90% of human beings are suffering from chemical imbalances. It's about 0.01% humans that are suffering from chemical imbalances, and they have the right to pursue their transition or whatever. That's fine.
They have the right to pursue it. It's their adult. It's their body. They can do
Right.
what they want with
But
it.
we are not going to celebrate it or tolerate it like it's just another
No.
social fad.
You have no control over individual reactions to it. What's your
Yeah.
point around that? Like, worry about
What
your
we
own.
shouldn't do is encourage lying to them about it.
Yes, Flo. That's what
To
that
make
was.
them
And
feel
lying would be
better.
what?
Lying would be affirming that the problem is their bodies.
And not their mind.
I don't.
And not their
Lib,
inability to.
I'm interested. I don't know what they're being told. Are they being told the problem is their
They're
bodies? or
being
their
told by the
mind?
left
Like,
wing that it's a beautiful thing and you
if
should
it's a
celebrate it.
misalignment between subjective sense of self, which we could call mind or brain, and body, how do you determine if the body's the problem or the mind's the
I can answer
problem?
that.
All you know is that you need one or the other.
Where
Gender
is the
dysphoria
pain?
is a host of of issues. There are some people for whom the issue is like a mind body thing. Like that's their big thing. For some people, it's just about their sort of social perception. Very much like how there's like a bunch of different kinds of like how autism expresses itself.
Take care, Steve. Thanks for being here.
But I don't think
ahead.
anybody really cares about anything except for the surgery part, right? Like that's I think what gets people sort of twacked out is when somebody's being encouraged.
You say that,
physically
but
mutilate
iPhi, for instance, iPhi, what's your opinion on adults getting hormone replacement treatment?
I can answer. Jeff, don't lose your question either.
If the doctor determines that the human has an actual chemical imbalance in their brain, and the doctor is unable to fix the chemical imbalance in their brain, as a temporary stopgap, they can allow them to pursue their mental disorder and feel better about themselves. until we have qualified medical professionals that can properly treat it and cure
We
them,
do. There's
like
not
the
a cure. Oh my
D-trans
God.
people that already exist. So
We don't have
that
See, this
qualified
is-
medical
This is the
this is-
first I'm hearing
professionals.
about the chemical imbalance theory. I thought that was just your like.
It's
like,
because some
poetic way of
humans
talking.
have a chemical imbalance in their brain. They don't have male
But I don't know
chemicals
that
floating around in their
transgenderism
male
has been
brain.
traced definitively to a
Yeah.
chemical
Okay.
imbalance in the brain.
Hold on,
They
Jeff,
don't
but
even
let's
know
walk through the steps of your
depression
question.
and anxiety. It is traced to that yet.
If
Does
you
that
have
answer your question?
a conflict between your bodies and your mind,
It's all body. Like you are your body.
Yeah.
It's all
I
happening
like
within the body.
like I understand the desire
What's-
to separate body and mind, but like there's not really that.
what is the reason
strong of a
for
separation.
changing somebody's body?
Okay, I mean, I feel like
Can be a
there's as
host
much
of
reason to
reasons.
separate mind and body as there is to separate gender and sex, though.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
that's the whole basis of transgender.
Yeah, I
gender,
mean that's kind of at the base is that you visualize your body as something different than what
Yeah.
aligns in your head. So if you separate it and look at that way, you can't conjoin them together and say it's all the same thing.
if
But
it's
it
all,
is all the
if
same.
it's all the same thing, then there is no
It's
such
one
thing as
organism.
Like
transgender.
One
you
individual.
could say the brain is an organ. Like I think that's fair
Yeah.
enough. But you guys can
Yeah.
at least acknowledge the experience of the psyche from like a psychological perspective, right?
Yeah, in the same way that someone who's
That's
autistic experiences the world differently.
Yeah.
That's the kind of.
So-
I'm not trying to make them like that much comparison, but like in this kind of way where we're talking about it, it's as physical a thing or as mental a thing as something like autism or ADHD.
And so autism, the how Jeff handles his autism, I assume, is interacting in the world as somebody who has autism, right? Like it's just it's something that you deal with.
It's
You don't-
invisible to me. It's something everybody else notices and has to
It's
do
only
with,
the
but
rocking.
I don't really know
like
what
if it weren't for the rocking,
that I don't even know. I'm not even aware I'm doing it.
It doesn't bother me. I just hear other people point it out sometimes. I'm a leg bouncer. It's like the same thing, but
But
I
you're
want you
right.
to
Yeah,
take me
the
through
only
the
thing I know how to
logical
do is
steps.
be myself, regardless of.
But
like,
we
I
have this
can't really-
dilemma, right? The trans person has this dilemma. How do you make the logical steps to go? The solution to your mental discomfort is to mutilate your healthy body that does not have a problem.
Well, usually you don't start there.
Doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. I'm only asking about this stage of it. I don't care about all the other.
I mean,
shit.
well, now you're talking about like you have to go down. You're talking about someone who has struggled.
Don't care
after
about all the
social
other shit.
transitioning.
I don't
struggled
care about all the
after-
other shit. I know that you want to get lost in the sauce. I'm only
It's
talking
not about getting lost in the sauce.
surgery.
It's about like
I'm only
if you're
talking about the
only talking
surgery.
about surgery, you're talking about a very small percentage of.
I
people.
don't give a fuck about the rest of it. Stop deflecting.
It's not a deflection. It's
It's a
just making
deflection.
sure that you understand.
I
that
know.
we are
Every
talking
time
about
I
a
bring up this
very
question,
small.
people make sure to tell me about all the other shit except for what I'm asking.
All
And in
the
that
other
case,
variables.
it's usually a personal thing. Usually they do so for personal reasons.
No fucking shit. How does it make logical sense to tell somebody the problems with your body? That's cosmetic surgery.
Yeah.
Well,
People usually
Okay,
get
thank you.
cosmetic surgery for this. Yeah, that's.
Thank you. That's all I want is a little bit of intellectual honesty with the discussion.
Yeah, I've been saying that
I'm not-
because
It is cosmetic
luck,
surgery,
Flo.
but it's on. Yeah, like I don't see an issue with people getting cosmetic surgeries to change their body to look the way they want it to.
Do you see an
Especially-
issue with the strong cultural push to empower and enable and support this sort of dramatic, oftentimes devastating physical intervention in what is not actually a physical problem?
If it were as common as you are claiming, then yes, I would take some major issues.
No, the frequency doesn't matter at all. The frequency doesn't. Well, it
The
does
frequency,
matter.
it-
but
it does matter. It's
principle
the
is the
only
same
thing
whether
that
it's 1 or
matters.
1,000. Whether it's 1 or 1,000, it's either right or it's wrong.
No. It's not. It's not either right or wrong. It is either right or wrong depending on the person you're talking about. Because like, okay, so like, was it wrong for Blair White to get bottom surgery? Blair White was an adult.
Blair
When
White
she
has the
He didn't
right.
get bottom surgery.
I'm
She
libertarian.
doesn't
Like
have it?
She
yeah, no, she
doesn't
I don't
have bottom surgery. Neither her or Buck have
I
a bottom surgery.
think adults have the right to fuck up their bodies if they want to.
Yeah,
I
too.
do not think the medical industry nor society at large should be encouraging people to make bad decisions to treat not the problem.
But okay,
How would
may
you
help a
treat
few
the problem?
people.
Because this way of treating the problem works. Whatever the
No,
mechanism
not
behind it,
not with any
as
great
you heard
success.
from
No.
Buck, it works. It alleviates the mental whatever.
It worked for Buck.
So
Buck
so
says
it's
it worked for Buck.
it's
Buck
a
also makes a
particular
living
disorder
out
that
of this.
cosmetic surgery
We
seems
also-
to alleviate.
there also are
What about the people
studies-
it doesn't alleviate for?
No,
Because
no,
we
no,
know
no.
there's lots of them.
Yeah,
Well, we know there are some.
but
I
for
have yet
some
to see.
it does. So it is a
Yeah, so I have
effective
yet to
intervention.
So
about
we
the
should
one-
we should encourage all of it and fuck where we're off. We're just going to encourage it.
No, it's not. Well, we should encourage our medical professionals to follow the same rules that they've been following for the past few years. Because wow, it
for the
seems
past
like
few years.
yeah, the past few years are the like the results of it is like people are better off now.
You don't
Because
think
it's-
that the
they
past
take things
you
on
don't
a-
think the medical field is influenced by business or cultural
Here comes the
incentives?
conspiracies.
No, I think
It's
they're
not
they're
conspiracies. There's recognition that,
But
that
you have to
there's
show
more-
it when you start throwing it influence. You have to show, like, you have to be able to show us something concrete.
like because like I can go
What do
down
you-
a list
Everything
of,
can be
like-
potentially influenced by everything.
everything
like-
is influenced by everything.
I
So
can go
it
down-
becomes like not a
So,
useful.
What I'm saying is that when
part
Lib
of the
says
discourse.
things like we need to leave it to medical professionals, acting like this is something that's too complicated for us peons to understand, and the professionals are above being
I do
influenced
too.
by
First
these
off,
other humans.
understanding.
I read all that
the
into
nuances.
Hey, FlowState.
The-
You mean medical professionals like the guys who interviewed that guy? Who's the
Are you making a glib point?
As soon as we figure out a way to monetize it, Frank, it's coming.
who's the what is a woman guy? Who's that guy that did that documentary?
Mulvaney, Dylan Mulvaney. No, Matt Walsh.
Matt
Matt
Walsh.
Yeah.
FlowState. So like the medical professionals that Matt
I was
Walsh
thinking
was
this is not a woman.
interviewing, who couldn't answer what a woman is, those kinds of medical professionals. Is that what Lib is talking about?
Well, even Buck said he didn't even know what a man is.
Exactly.
I
Flo.
mean, he'll
Now
never
you see
know
where
what
we're
a
going.
man is.
That's not giving credibility to any of you by saying shit like that.
Yeah,
I don't even know
Exactly,
what the
Flo.
topic is anymore, to be honest.
Welcome
Yeah,
to the
it's-
dark
it's
side,
just
Flo.
kind
I
of-
think we have a
kind of
mole
not-
or two in
Yeah.
here.
Chris
It's
is
just-
checked out. Fucking
iPhi,
Steve
it's
ran
just
off.
like that
Jeff
was
pretends he
completely-
doesn't
I'm
know what's going on.
I'm answering emails regarding.
Yeah,
the
I
stream.
know.
I
It's-
appreciate that
yeah.
at least.
I appreciate that you guys would
And,
rather
and
like
part of the problem with
change the
iPhi is
channel
we
than-
don't
than
get to
try
hear
force
from
the
people
line.
like Anton as often.
Yeah, I was
okay,
really
well,
hoping to hear from Anton
I
myself.
think that I've made my point as clear as anybody will allow to be made.
Yeah, the
No,
problem is
that's
Wi-Fi,
not
Jeff.
true.
I
Like
agree.
we totally support you making your point, man. Like it's
Well,
not,
no.
that's
I
not good at all.
didn't
I
mean
don't
that you're getting shut
understand it,
down.
but
I meant that there's some foot dragging out of Lib and out of Jeff.
I mean, not really.
I
I'm
don't
not
even know
really
what the
dragging my
position
feet.
is. I don't
I'm
even
gonna
know.
be,
Honestly,
I'm gonna
don't
be
know what we're
real.
arguing
Like
about. It's-
iPhi jumping in and like saying his little spiel kind of just like
Yeah,
throws
iPhi
discussions off.
definitely-
There's
And you know
no
what?
way.
You know what? I'm gonna.
I
I'm
do
gonna say it.
think
I really appreciate iPhi being respectful and reasonable today. Whenever he on the panel and stuff like that,
obviously
I think
yes.
that in the comments, like I appreciate everybody here, like actually like
I appreciate you
Everyone,
guys
you've
too.
all proven yourselves. That I didn't have to ban or
Yeah,
mute or
I mean, like,
delete or anything.
because it was a big favor for Buck to come on our stream. Our stream is super tiny, and he has millions of subscribers, and we have like 200. And for the fact that he came on here at all, it was just like a massive a massive ask that, and he did it for no money or anything. He didn't
And-
we didn't.
Yeah,
and
Buck's
that was
really
really
cool.
that was
I like
really
Buck,
cool.
Very
And
likable
I'm
person.
really happy to see that our community treated that with respect, and I'm really happy about. I'm really pleased with all of you guys. I think that you all did.
That means more people
you're all
will want to come.
Yeah. So I'm really happy about
That's
it.
part of helping the
but-
community be what it's.
I
trying
liked
to be.
getting to meet Buck. At least it wasn't Blair White.
Well,
I'd
we were-
honestly mostly just feel bad.
Which you probably
But there's no way.
Blair White,
Blair
because we were
White.
trying to get her.
I think
But there's-
she's
now we
she goes
really
a
have
little
to get her.
she goes a little harder in the sort of like
But
being the rights
did
token.
did you see her interview that she just did yesterday with Buck?
I haven't seen that interview. No.
You should watch the interview. It's only an
I
hour
should.
long, and
Okay.
it's actually you can see that you can see how much she's grown, you know, since she kind of like got into the space as like the token like trans woman type thing, and
Yeah.
how much her opinions and everything have become. Like I said, like whenever I said about her pushing back about Ben Shapiro, I'm not talking about the interview. She came out like later on after Ben said a bunch of bullshit and was like calling him out on her podcast and said like I'm done with Shapiro. I'm done with Daily Wire people. She's like, some of them are okay people, but like, I'm done with all those people. Like, they're all being disingenuous and stuff like that. I'm saying she totally does just call those people out. So
it
like,
did
I mean,
take
like,
her a while because I remember there was an interview
it-
she did with, it was her, Sarah and Borchenko, some MAGA kid, and then some like really crazy lady, and like they were like the two like far right people on that panel were like, yeah, Blair, the best thing you can do for our movement is grow out your mustache and start living like a man. And it's like, who this is, why would you hang around these people? That's very, that's
Well,
not
here's
like
the problem.
yeah.
A man, no matter, I'm talking about a man that's biologically born a male. There's no way in this world that he will ever know what a female feels or is, and vice versa. There's no way a biological female, no matter how they slice it, dice it, grow it, whatever, will know what it is to be a biological male completely.
Yes. They
vice versa,
approximate it
but-
with their imagination, but there's no way to ever actually have the experience.
They're
of being
100%
biological.
correct.
And if I had able to create the technology to give them that experience, to let them actually push the button and let that happen, I think I would be 100% okay with it. I'd also be 100. I also think that it would be
If we
100%
had that
okay if you could make
technology,
that
there
just where
wouldn't
you're
be
going.
such thing.
Yeah.
They would just,
Yeah,
they would just
wouldn't
put
have
on their
these issues.
VR helmet and
I'm just,
be,
but the reason I point the
feel like a
technology
woman.
thing is because it comes down, it clarifies that it's not necessarily a moral or ethical thing. It, in terms of the actual idea of transitioning from one gender to another, what it does pull into focus is the fact that our
Well, for
current,
some
the way
people
we
it is.
currently do it is kind of like, especially like the surgical options are kind of barbaric and kind of awful, and they don't really resolve the issue. I'm saying that if we could really, really actually change it, like I don't think anybody would have those. And yes, please, Anton, please speak.
Yeah, you're not going to find
anything.
anything to hate about Anton. So
Yeah.
Don't you think that like a real solution to the issue would be to make the people feel more accepted by society?
Yeah, that's what we try.
However,
That's what we were trying to do in my generation. That's
Absolutely.
still what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely.
So how did we get
destigmatize, normalize?
Right, exactly. But be whoever you are. You don't have to cut yourself up into pieces because you feel like that's what society will expect out of how you feel. Be how you feel. There's nothing wrong with
I mean,
people's
I
bodies.
personally would recommend against anybody, and Buck is the same thing, and so is Blair, would recommend against getting the actual bottom surgery stuff because they don't think that they think that it's not what it's kind of it's a really weird mutilating band-aid at best. It doesn't
Right.
actually fix anything. Like
Okay.
they
I'm not
support
trans.
it.
I don't even have
it's not
They
some
support
magical
HRT.
bullet thing. Yeah.
They support HRT. They
HRT is the
support
bigger
social
one.
transitioning, but they don't support that particular thing. And like that's what that's what part of the point. But anyway, go on.
Puberty blocking drugs are the same things they use for chemical castration, by the way. They're not safe and reversible. So that would be my only other caveat or objection there.
That's not
It
true,
does.
though.
It does depend on the dosage they're
It-
used in. You
It
you
does
can
depend.
chemically
Some of
cast
them
it.
are.
Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
demonic.
There are
Anton,
lots of
please.
reports of people who cannot achieve orgasm, nor like boners after the fact.
Do you have studies on this, or is
I'm
this
not
just a
walking
bunch
around
of
with them in my
anecdotes?
pocket, but they do exist.
I mean, actually, if I like, I'm
do you
not
think
saying
that
that
I'm
you
making up the
should
claim?
Well, I'm saying
Or,
that.
or are you just doing that deflection thing? Cite your sources because you don't like what I'm saying.
No, I genuinely would
Okay.
love to see your sources, because if they're like, if it's actually like a decent
iPhi,
source.
you better not. We better not edit with your horse port on here.
That would be.
I'll see if I can. I'll see if
Yeah.
I can pull them up for you.
Well, I
just wanna
know
make sure the
because
request
like
is in good
yeah.
faith and not just sending me on a
No.
goose chase.
Yes, I'm not trying to send you on a wild goose chase. I genuinely, if you have like a link to that actual source, or even just like a link to where you heard that from, because I know like with a lot of things that I initially hear, it's usually like I hear it from a trusted source, and then I go and attempt to like find out what the fuck they're talking about, and I usually find
no,
that
I
source.
didn't hear it from
and
somebody.
that's-
I remember I did a little bit of research on this a little while back. I don't remember where I actually read this, but I'll see if I can sort of retrace my steps.
And
I think
mean, some of it
Anton has
is,
something to
is
say.
anecdotal as well. There have been some.
Yeah, can we? Let right now, Anton, center stage, spotlight, everybody backstage.
Please do that.
There's a lot of
Shift
Anton
S or whatever.
momentum built up that needs to be addressed.
Jesus. Well, I gave a description of myself in the comments or whatever, but yeah, I hope I'm not built up too much. So, earlier, oh Jesus Christ, Jeff. all right. Earlier there were some analogies made, and I don't know if they're fair or not, but analogy in my head that I don't think is exact, but it's the closest that I can get to the trans, thing, whatever you want to call it, is like if a woman has breast implants, there are people who don't like breast implants. They don't think it's okay. And then there are other people who think plastic surgery is totally acceptable. But, at the end of it, the woman looks at herself in the mirror, or she looks down at her chest, and she's completely insecure about how she looks, and she goes out into the world, and no matter how much her friends tell her, like, it doesn't matter how big your boobs are, it doesn't matter, she's still got that insecurity. And if you want to have a discussion about like how society makes you feel and how you want to, go through talk therapy and try and mitigate that, at the end of it, if she gets the breast implants and she feels totally confident and she goes out in public and she has a great time, if you want to get upset and say, well, we shouldn't encourage people to get breast implants, like, yeah, to some degree, I totally agree with you. But if that individual, like, I think they should have the right to get the breast implants. And so
this is why I love this conversation with Frank.
And I think it might be fair to make that analogy, because you certainly wouldn't want to encourage a 15 or a 16-year-old girl who's in high school looking at, Kim Kardashian's fucking Instagram to get a BBL or breast implants to improve how she looks.
Wait, what is BBL?
It's Brazilian butt lift. And I thought Brazilian butt lift was a natural thing, but it's what the Kardashians do. It's fat injections or some sort of injection into your glutes.
Like
to give
from your
yourself
own
a big
body,
booty,
your own.
so you can go around looking like you got a full diaper. It's fantastic.
Oh, okay.
It's like having an adult child the whole time.
Okay,
so-
I am, and this is actually really nuanced. Surprisingly, Google Gemini gave me a wait. That wasn't the link I was trying to copy. Oh, God, hold on. I actually copied the StreamYard link for some reason. Google Gemini gave me a very nuanced response on like whether or not hormone blockers can cause sexual dysfunction later in life, and I'm linking it in the chat right now. I'm very surprised because Google Gemini is extremely woke.
No,
does it say, Chris?
Lupron. The drug is called Lupron, and it's used both for transgender hormone, for puberty blocking, and also chemical castration for sex offenders. So look up Lupron, Lupron.
It says the long impact term of hormone blockers on sexual function in transgender individuals is a hotly debated and complex topic. The existing evidence provides a nuanced picture rather than simple conclusions. Puberty blockers work by suppressing hormones. Okay, we don't know that. Okay, so why the debate persists? Sexual function is influenced by many things: physical health, hormone levels, mental well-being, past experiences, relationship. It just goes on and on. But basically, it says it's saying that the data. The essential thing is that the data is not yet complete or in. It's not. We have not had enough time to study it. It's inconclusive at this point whether or not that hormone blockers are necessarily whether or not they could possibly be harmful to people's sexual function later in life. It is possible that they are causing issues with some people. Some people have reported them.
What are you reading it off
do not. This was literally a summary from Google Gemini, and I was just surprised. I was I was surprised. Well, usually it's very woke. It wouldn't even produce a picture of two white federal agents for me because it said I was being discriminatory and non-diverse. So I was very surprised that it gave me a nuanced answer as it did. But I'm just saying that
Working
there
as
are.
intended.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
There's nothing
nuanced
wrong with
answer is
AI. What's wrong with
Yes,
it
there
is who. No, no, no. There's nothing wrong with AI. It's who programs it with the parameters that is wrong, because all AI is a collection of data.
Yeah, the problem is our attitude towards it, that people trust it as accurate and not as
exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
Without any
it is
concrete
exactly.
research.
I think
If it
when
was a
people
free
dismiss fear mongering
platform,
about it,
sorry.
saying like AI is just a tool, it's like, yeah, AI is a tool, but humans are using that tool. It's kind of like, you know, guns don't kill people, people kill people. It's like, you know,
Yeah,
AI
but-
is a tool, but people use it, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
But it's more along the lines of which military is using it at that point, because it's whoever programs that is basically in charge of what information you're allowed to see. Now, if there was an AI that was open source, then it would completely change the game.
I'm not sure that open source is like a silver bullet or anything. I mean, I do agree.
Wikipedia is open source, and you can type any misinformation you want into Wikipedia.
No, Wikipedia is not exactly like an. It's not where you can just openly research stuff. It's where people type it in. But what I'm talking about is the AI scans all these research articles and whatnot, and it doesn't stop you from scanning all the articles. It would only stops you from,
There's no better. There's no substitute for just using your brain for a lot of things.
For good old fashioned research. Yeah.
People use AI to shortcut actually having to do research.
I do it all the time.
I never use AI for
what
anything
it's worth.
intentionally.
For what it's worth, like finding things on using like web browsers is becoming harder because of AI. Because there are so many AI articles and stuff. Like, it's gotten to the point where if I like have a tech issue, I'll Google like whatever the tech issue, and then I'll put Reddit at the end, because then I know at the very least I'm not getting an AI generated article. Like I'm getting
ads.
I'm getting something from like a subreddit where someone had this problem, and I'll just find it faster than if I Google it.
At some point in time, the internet went from being the place where you can find all the information you'd ever want to the place where you can't trust any fucking thing you see there.
Yeah,
exactly.
But if it had access to the research articles,
it was the same
it would
in
be
the beginning
different
too. You still had to filter the information.
Yeah, but
I mean,
not
they
the
had
same
misinformation
way,
in the
I just don't feel like it was
early days of the internet.
Whatever. It was glorious back then. You could play a YouTube video and then let autoplay do its thing for the rest of your fucking life back then, and it would be all good shit.
Yeah, Flo's right about that.
I love your backdrop, Anton.
Is that your is that in your room, your basement?
Yeah, your living room or whatever.
Yeah,
it
I
it
completely
looks so
switched
cozy.
thanks, man. I appreciate it. I switched the basement, so now the studio is on this side and the living room's on that side. I think it works a lot better.
It looks really cozy. It just looks like
Thanks,
looks like
man.
a nice. It looks like a nice, cool place to chill. It looks like a cool place to hang out.
Yeah, I got plenty of RGB lights and shit. My my wife says that I'm a raver at heart.
Well, you'll have to come to our panel rave that we're starting.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, dude.
I can even see in the corner he's got that bisexual lighting where it's doing the thing.
Hey, I'm rocking
Jeff,
bisexual lighting. I'm
Tuesdays,
rocking
we
that
have gay
bisexual lighting right
stripping.
now. What about me? Come on,
Jeff, I heard some very unflattering critiques of you.
There
I'm sure you
probably
did. From
is
Paul and
definitely
Slade?
some truth in there, but I'm a capitalist before anything else. So
I didn't hear you, Jeff.
From Paul Enslaved?
You got it.
Yeah, he replayed the rave and criticized it. But they remind me of like the people in the Footloose movie that don't want dancing. That's like, look at what they're. Can you believe what they're doing on the show? Look, they're dancing. Can you believe this? Like they were so freaked out that we were having a panel dance.
And when you rubbed your brush, this chair went.
I didn't.
Crazy.
I was playing with my beads. I was doing this with my beads. And it
that
looked
a
like I was rubbing
euphemism
my
for your
nipples.
beads?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He said I
Wait,
wasn't
I thought-
masculine. Oh.
I assume that they talk shit about me having gay stripping going on. Actually, I guess it was straight.
All right.
Well, gay stripping and pimping out your guests.
Yeah.
Well, that was gross.
Valid
that was gross.
criticisms. Valid criticisms, Flo.
Huh?
Accusations of pimpery.
Oh, not accusations. You the evidence is on the stream.
And the evidence is all monetized. When I requested a review,
I got
monetization-
pimped out to put my shirt back on.
And
what's
and
his face?
disgusting.
Poor Butthole Winker was like the star of the show. He worked harder than anybody. Fucking full on naked like 3 times. Nobody dropped a dime.
Are you kidding
tiny
me?
whiteys. He had his tiny whiteys on.
by
Did
12.
You couldn't tell
Hey,
because he's so
the
pale
balloon.
and his stomach was hanging over his crotch, so you couldn't really see if he. I thought he was naked.
Hey, I'm sure that did excite you. I'm sure that did excite you, Flo.
Well, what excited me is how
gross.
many women in the chat were coming out of the woodwork paying money for Mr. Pie to do stuff. I'm like, well, okay. I didn't expect the panel to turn into a male strip club, but do your thing, keep going.
Wait, hold on. Mr. Pie is Butthole Wanker?
No. They were both.
Mr. Pie
look,
is a revenue generator.
He
I love Mr. Pie. He's great.
Butthole Winker, though, put the
Mr.
most
Pie's kinda hot.
spirit into the game.
He did.
God, I love you too.
Because
the worst.
that?
It's the worst best place.
It is. And
I've met so many frenemies.
I've left the job early to come do some fuck shit here.
Oh,
I was at a job and I heard you say we're gonna bring up our far right, your introduction to Phi, and I was like, God damn it, I gotta go before the panel's full up. And I said, left all my tools right there, fucking there, and then I jumped in the truck.
Hey, Moose.
Angel.
Moose, how come you wouldn't let Jack help you in your life?
Like as a coach?
Yeah, so last night
he was complaining.
Like
last
Neurojack?
night I was listening. No, Talcott.
Talcott.
I was listening to the Talcott broadcast, right? And my name kept coming up. And so finally I was like, well, what is this? What's going on with this BS? Why does my name keep coming up in a bad light? And he goes, well, you and this other person, you won't let me help you. I can help you change your life. I can help you in one night talking to me. I can help you change your life. And I said, don't you think that like if you could change somebody's life in a night that most people here wouldn't be stuck in a loop?
Yeah, he got mad at me because I said he sold his house over a year ago.
You don't have to say anything. He's mad at you already.
Yeah, he knew this day was coming.
I thought y'all made up.
No. When are Jack, Talcott, and Chuck ever
Someone
going
told
to,
me the other day that they had squashed their drama on stream and
you
made up.
what would make you believe that? I'm sorry.
I didn't. I was skeptical then. I said, we'll
Chuck
see how
is the
long it
whipping
lasts.
boy. Chuck walks in the room and he gets thrown out.
Yep.
I don't ever want to have a left versus right discussion at all. I want to just kind of squash that paradigm entirely.
And iPhi, send us a head.
Hear me? I
chest
think
and headshot
my speakers have gone out. You guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Well,
Okay,
not
I'm gonna drop back.
I can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, go. Yeah.
You're crackling though.
I don't know. I mean, like left-right debates are fine, I guess. I
don't like the distinction as a valid. I don't like to make it a valid division, right? Like
also like I don't know. I feel like the more I've had them, the more I've realized I think there can be more productive discussions from like talking about like different subjects, like more practical.
I don't take it.
The tribal. Go ahead, Chucky.
I don't take it from a left or right paradigm. I look at it in the whole as what is right or who is right. I don't care where they fall on the
true and false. Right is.
Well, that's if it's a true or false sort of thing, right? Like, there's not really a true or false dilemma. Like, there's not really a true or false answer to should we value human well-being. There's not a true or false answer to that.
There is a true answer, and it's yes, we should value human well-being.
No.
But we don't.
But it's not. That's the thing, though, is it's not like necessary. You don't have to.
we-
You don't have to value human well-being.
But we should, and I can tell you
agree, we
exactly
should.
why. I can tell you why it's a true, like, it's a sentiment, yes, but it's a sentiment that's literally in everybody's best interest. So the question is subjective, but since it's the object of the should is people, then of course people should value people. I don't,
But that doesn't mean they like that's it's just it is odd.
Yeah,
right.
It doesn't mean they will.
Well, right, yeah. Behavior is different from the discussion. I think the left-right paradigm and identities it creates tribalism out of wedge issues that are not meant to be resolved.
But the tribalism is there anyway. It's going to be there.
Anyway.
It's pre-existing because it's built into our wiring. So if it wouldn't be that form of tribalism, it would be some other form of it.
If people just focused on what is right and wrong, and not from a moral standpoint, but from like, is this a mental disorder or a physical disorder standpoint? Like if people are just intellectually honest about the situation, with all issues, not just the trans.
It's just
how are they being intellectually dishonest by not pretending like it's a disorder?
People are being dishonest by saying that the solution is that body is the problem.
But what it doesn't not necessarily body is the problem, but that it helps. Like whatever, like the solution
it
helps.
also harms.
Well,
it's not the issue,
right? That's why it needs to be determined on the individual level.
Yeah,
between the patient and his medical team.
If I like not having hands, if my hands bothered me and I cut them off, and I felt better than after that, I still did something fucking insane by cutting my hands off.
Well, according to what? Like insane according to what? If you feel better after doing it, that's sanity to
problem.
me.
The hand was not causing the problem. The problem was in the head. Pain
but
is
the
in the head.
the hand fixed the problem, fixed it. So that's all we care about is the solution.
There was never
we care about fixing the problem.
But what if I like big butts and I cannot lie?
Then you sir definitely put two big butts. That's the only true thing to do there.
Wasn't it Van Gogh
when a
that
girl
cut his
walks
ears
in
off?
with the pretty
Yeah, and he's
waist and a
considered
round thing in
insane.
your
But
face.
if he felt like his girlfriend would like it, then what's insane about that? I feel like the shadow people talk to me sometimes. What's wrong with me talking back to them? Maybe they're there.
Because if you do, they'll reveal secrets about the universe you don't want to know. That's why.
Yeah, that's why.
I think several people have been talking to shadow people lately.
Yeah.
So
you
if
don't
I
want to
could
talk to
try to
shadow
make,
people. They say scary things. You don't want to talk to them.
No, they're real to me.
Okay, so if I could try to make an argument that might make like both sides happy. So like you make a good point when you talk about like the schizophrenic way of looking at things. Like if there's voices in your head, I don't think we who experience reality a different way than the schizophrenics, I don't think we should say, well, it's all subjective and just kind of walk away. Like we know that the schizophrenic person who's hearing voices, that's encouraging to like burn down his neighbor's house or to listen to the voices inside the TV or like everyone is watching them. We know that that's unhealthy. So I think that you're making a good point there. As far as the cutting off your hands go, there's also a woman I saw, it wasn't on Dr. Phil, but it was on some sort of talk show where she cut out her eyes because she had some sort of dysmorphia or felt completely uncomfortable with the fact that she could see. Once she cut out her eyes, she felt much better and she felt at peace. The problem is that she now needed someone to help her in her life because she was blind. So in order for her to feel better, she directly affected the life of someone else. And or she needs to live off government assistance because she can't have like a regular job. But with transgender people, when they do something like that, when they transform themselves, they're not really affecting other people until they have like a they them or like a neo pronoun of some sort, or if they demand that you call them like a real woman. And it's like, I'm more than willing to say that you're a woman or you're portraying woman, and I'm willing to use your new name and use your pronouns. That's fine. But if you're going to ask me if you're like a real woman, we need to be able to keep that distinction and say you're a trans woman, not a real woman.
Yeah, I don't like that term real either. It feels kind of weird to use anyways. Like,
why?
take it back. We'll use whatever word you like, Lib. But if you take the thought process back a step to the society's narrative, the harm is when society is saying it is a valid treatment for you to cut out your eyeballs if the back of your head itches.
But for
because
some
then
people,
you have
it
more
might be.
people cutting out their eyeballs, who probably are not going to be happy they made that decision. That's an insane response to the problem. No matter what, if she feels better or not, that shouldn't be encouraged at large.
What's your solution to the dysphoria?
I think that adults should be allowed to do what they want, but I don't think that we should lie to them and enable them any more than we would lie to an
What's your
addict.
solution? What would you have them do about their dysphoria?
I don't know how to solve the problem, but telling them to fuck themselves up is not.
If you don't know how to solve it, and some people have solved it through changing their body, it's one step further along than you are.
But some people solved it by not fucking doing it as well.
Yeah.
They grew out of it. So
yeah, I mean, it's true. A lot of people do grow out of it. I mean, and that's why. I mean, what Buck didn't transition until he was 30. You know, he didn't transition until he was 30.
If
so,
somebody
I mean,
at 30 wants to transition, fucking have fun. But
it's like a tattoo. Tattoos are forever, right?
It's the narrative and the enabling and encouraging that people do. You're crazy. You're not a dude. If you want to live this way, though, if it makes you happier, I fully support you doing it. But don't try to tell other people who are confused as well that this is the way out. When it's just embedding yourself deeper
not
in the delusion.
Transgender people. It's generally like medical professionals who are talking to patients about this.
Do you know it used to be a mental disorder for slaves to want to run away?
Yeah, no, I know.
Okay, so when you say medical professional, like it means something to me, it doesn't.
That means
I don't
something
give
to
a
me.
fuck if they've been trained for 8 years to push pills. Doesn't matter. This isn't complicated. I don't need anybody with a degree to explain.
Also, it is worth noting the medical community from 200 years ago and the medical community today are two very different beasts. Like
they're not though. The psychiatric community is bullshit. They treat mental disorders with drugs. They do no drugs.
And sometimes they work. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've worked in the psychiatric
I mean,
system.
if school's boring and you give somebody meth, it will help them do mundane shit. But that's because drugs are powerful. It's not because they have a disease.
Well, it's not. You don't just get drugs if you have a disease. Drugs are like tools to help people. Like humans have been using drugs for basically as long as humans have been humans, whether for recreation or for actual like doing something. And
I don't understand what point you're making.
So like it feels like you're trying to moralize the act of using a drug. Of using this specific kind of drug.
I'm trying to, what I'm doing is pointing out how immoral it is to say you have a problem with yourself that requires this to solve it.
Why should we care about your morality, your moral opinions?
Well, why should I give a fuck about yours? Why would why are we having
I don't
discussions?
push that on others too. I'm not telling people like what they
should
do or not do.
My issue is I don't have a moral issue with this because the outcomes seem to be better when we allow these doctors to do what they do than otherwise. There have been a number of studies that have shown that people
like the antidepressants that everybody's on that increase suicide,
which help some people and not others.
Yes.
There's a range of effects.
The placebo sugar pills have a 30% success rate. Okay, so the fact that some people are helped, if some people are also hurt, you have to look at the principle. Like, what's the logic underlying this? Some people might be helped by any number of things, hanging upside down like a bat all day long, but that doesn't make it an adequate treatment. It just
but that does mean that for people who specifically have that need to be hanging upside down for 18 hours a day, we should hang them upside down 18 hours a day.
Is the treatment for bulimia vomiting?
I have a solution for all of this: an 80-hour work week. People will work so hard they won't have time.
I think we need an 80-hour
communism, baby. Yeah.
or dance
No
marathons.
one will have any time to be trans or anything else because they'll be so tired.
We need
Yeah,
to
there
get
won't be
invaded
any
by
time
China
for
real
this.
bad.
The children yearn for the mines, don't you know?
Yes, they do. Well, they are minors after all.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, Lord.
Anyways, if we're gonna be logically consistent, then the treatment for bulimia is vomiting, the treatment for anorexia is starving, the treatment for alcoholism is drinking, the treatment for drug addiction is using.
Hey,
No,
Flo,
I don't.
before you check
I
out, I have a
really don't
question
think
for
that.
you.
I really do not believe those things are equivalent. I mean,
Hang on,
I
iPhi
understand.
has a.
I understand your point.
I
I'm
agree with
listening.
I
I'm
agree with
listening.
everything you just said, Flo. I just came in here to invite you to a future topic, if you're interested in it. Using your
That's your question.
using your own words, I would like to talk about the topic of left versus right. So you brought up the idea that there is a progressive versus not progressive, a collective versus individual culture war going on in our society and in the world at large. And I would like to address those in terms of left and right if and when you have the time. Would you be interested?
I would be interested in that. Yes.
Okay.
I
So
accept.
I'm going to put in.
Just drop by his stream.
I'm going to put in private chat my YouTube channel. If you go to community,
I'm subscribed to you.
If you go to my
How
community,
am I not subscribed to iPhi?
11. He has 11 subscribers. Probably us.
All right, 12.
if
there we go.
you go to my community page, Flo, I specifically called you out and invited you for that future topic.
I saw that earlier. I was done pooping, and so I didn't respond to it. But
Did you kick me out of your Discord? Did you kick me out of your Discord, iPhi? Because I don't see it on my Discord.
Yeah, because the other day you were complaining about too many words from iPhi, so I solved the problem.
Oh, I must have gotten kicked out too. I don't even see myself in it.
Flo, you did a good thing.
I've never been invited to.
What's that?
Discord.
You kind of set Raccoon on the straight and narrow a little bit.
Raccoon's a little
I helped him
grifting-ass
grow that
bitch.
shit.
To be fair,
Raccoon
I
needs
don't
to
use
hurry up and just
Discord.
do it because his family's right. He's a burden on the rest of us.
I thought you don't have a voice and you can't talk, but you interrupt everybody on the stream, and you don't have Discord. You don't use Discord, but you're on Discord all day posting shit.
So, the first time I ever met Raccoon here, he was doing the whiny thing. He was thinking about suicide, or he needed a cigar or some shit. So I figured this dude's probably full of shit. Whatever. It's an internet stranger, but here, have $15. I got some money. It's a good day. Whatever. He every day after that for like a week, he would send me Cash App requests. Wouldn't say a thing. Send a Cash App request, and then. After about a week, I started sending him Cash App request. I sent him a Cash App request. He declined it. Did it again. Declined it. Three of them, he blocked me. That little fucking grifter needs to just do the deed.
Hey, no.
Are you talking about Raccoon City? Because I got like 4 requests from him.
To make my channel
in Minecraft, of course. We're talking about.
Raccoon
was an entertainment show.
Minecraft server. I don't know what you guys think I'm talking about. I was talking about cleaning his room. He used to clean his room. He's the lobster.
Are you talking about Raccoon City though, Flo? Because he sent me like 4 requests.
Yeah,
he's a piece of shit. This dude is the most panhandling ass.
He can't handle here no more.
Oh, really?
He was listening to. Maybe he is listening. But
yeah, he and Mitch were going. They took up the whole chat one day, tried to.
But yeah, I
remember that.
After he blocked me, I seen him in, I guess it's probably here or somewhere, Jack Talcott's doing his little grifty thing down there again.
Oh, of course.
Like, bro, this is so obnoxious.
It is.
That's really hard. That's really sad to hear. I know he literally is actually going through a lot of things.
I literally hope so. He's not going through enough.
No, I mean he literally. I mean, like I know someone who knows him personally, and I'm just saying, like
he said his brother comes on the street. He's the brother of somebody.
Yeah, so he is, and I know who it is, but I'm not saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't
care. Dude, the thing is,
can we move on from gossip to whatever?
Well, I'm spewing hate
or a philosophical
topic.
I was
up all night long and I'm cranky and I want to be hateful. So let me have that.
It's not really gossip though when the guy tells you, "Oh, I need some money for food," and then in another chat he's talking about needing money for cigarettes.
I know. I'm not saying it like it's. I'm just saying as a topic. It's more the gossip column.
I mean, is there anything lower than threatening the S for money?
Otherwise, I'm gonna honor Frank's credit and just go do some Mr. Robot. Although I have to catch up on the last three.
I gotta go back to. I'm gonna finish this job. This job is taking way more days than it should be because you started streaming during the day, Jeff.
I started at the same time I stream every day.
Well, today was a special one. I'm really glad you came by, Flo. I really appreciate you coming by.
I appreciate all the. Like, I'm glad everybody came by.
I thought that
really
I thought that went really well, honestly.
I mean,
I was a little worried at first when you opened up the panel, but it turned out pretty good.
I was a little worried too. I was a little worried just in general, just because like I mean like in terms of actual recognizability. I mean, Buck Angel probably has a higher recognizability than anybody that's been a guest on any of these panels in our section of the Panelverse. I mean, like he's had a Netflix documentary. He's been on an HBO documentary. I watched his part of it last night. He is an international figure. I mean, he puts
his pants on the same way as we do.
Yep, just with a little bit less, just a little more room in him. That's all.
Oh wow! Thanks, Tim. That's exactly what we're trying to do. So good. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, he is very base. I mean, he is like, I've been a fan of his for a while, and like I was so surprised. Like I email a lot of people trying to see who's willing to come on the stream, and like the fact that he was the one that reached back out and he was totally. I reached back out to him in November, and he said that he's a little bit busy with the holidays, so that hit him back up like at the end of the holidays, and then I hit him up at the end of January, and then he got back to us. We worked this out, and it worked really well, and I really think and he seemed to really, I mean, he seemed to really actually have a good time on the panel, and I think he'll actually help us. He'll give us some legitimacy and help us get some other people that maybe wouldn't pay attention to our panel to come on. He said he'd help us talk to Marcus Dibb and Blair White.
I know a guy. I don't know. He's pretty busy. If I can get him to come down to this low of a level, he might. But I'll have to reach out to him and see what he does.
Throwing some shade.
Well, Paul Williams. Do you know who Paul Williams is?
I know the singer Paul Williams, but
that's who it is.
Probably
that's
not the
what I'm talking about.
The singer Paul Williams. Okay.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah. No.
Apparently not.
You know Paul Williams?
He's the president of the recording artist and something else.
Shit. I gotta look. I do some research, but I'd love to talk to him. Yeah, if he'd come on,
Chuck, if you get Paul Williams, I'm not gonna say no.
Man, and he is so short in real life, it's unbelievable. I couldn't believe how little he was.
That's how I felt. There's this kind of pop singer that I'm a big fan of named Harmar Superstar. You guys heard of Harmar Superstar?
Who's Superstar?
Harmar Superstar. He's amazing. Wow. If you check out his music, he does like everything. For example, like he did a tour where he just covered all of just a bunch of Sam Cooke songs, and he's an amazing singer and stuff like that. But when I first met him, like I had no idea that he came up to here on me, and like I had no idea, and like it, like I had to brace myself. I was like, oh, I didn't say. I would thank God I didn't say anything, but I would like everything. It took everything from me. It was like, oh my God, you're short. Like it's so much. It was so much smaller than I thought he was. He doesn't look like a really short, small guy when you see him even on stage. Like he doesn't look that small. But damn, he's like maybe 5 foot. He's like almost a full foot shorter than me. I was just like, sometimes you like. I heard the same thing about like Tom Cruise. I heard Tom Cruise is like 5 foot something. Like
yeah,
5'2".
and Ben Shapiro, like, oh my God, Ben Shapiro is like genuinely short. It's super funny. It took me so long to learn that.
Which it doesn't. I mean, I have no issue with short men or short people. Period. It's nothing like that. It's just that I don't think of myself as being a really tall guy. I'm only 5'11". I think of myself as being a shorter compared to a lot of my friends growing up were like 6'5", 6'3". They were. I'm just used to like just in general thinking of myself as like a slightly shorter person than most other people. And then so like when you meet someone that like you've seen on stages or concerts, something like that, and they're like a lot shorter than you, it's just jarring. It's just like, oh my God, like,
Oh my
Like,
god!
what?
Like I tower over Ben Shapiro. I'm 5'11". Like that's the thing. This man is. I think he's like 5'3" or he's not even that short. Like he's like 5'4" or 5'5", something like that. Like that's
And
about
yet
average.
apparently, if you're trying to date, especially if you're a straight man trying to date today, unless you're at least 6'1" or so, you don't have a shot with like 90% of women. So I don't even know.
The thing
like,
is,
man,
that's
just
like there definitely are plenty of women who like really the height thing is like a make or break deal with them for some fucking reason. But like most women that I've at least known, like it's just not. In fact, one of my friends, her boyfriend is very short, but only in the height department.
Yeah, I've always heard those rumors about
And
Vern Troyer back when he was alive, so I understand. Yeah, I get it.
That's just kind of like
Or
short
was
king.
it Wee Man from Jackass? Supposedly he has like a massive dick or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really pay attention to people's dick sizes, but still I've heard those things before. People talk about that shit a lot. Hey, Anton, it's so good seeing you again, man. It's been so long. Like, what have you been up to, by the way? Like, what's been going on in your corner of the world? Because, like, I literally I've not seen you on a panel. I haven't seen you in chats or anything in like ages. Like, what's going on with you, man?
Yeah, it's a combination of like not being online when you guys have a stream going, and I'm trying to grow my channel a little bit, and I put out 2 videos, and I felt really good about it, and I'm working on like 3 or 4 others, and it's just a bad thing of just like not
promote
focusing
them.
on them.
Put them in our Discord.
Yeah,
we'll
promote
Discord.
anything.
We'll push them,
and I'll do them on Twitter.
What's
play
the
some clips
basis
from
for
'em.
your channel, Anton?
Well, there's a few different directions I want to go in, but I think it starts from a leaning left centrist point of view and just talking about either cultural happenings or certain philosophical or psychological ideas. I know that I'm a big fan of Jung, and I've read a lot of his works, and so there are some ideas of his that I want to talk about. But yeah, that's usually the orientation, is a centrist thinker just talking about things that are happening.
Yeah,
we
you're
stopped
not
doing our
locked
little
into.
Jung club.
Well, I know you're a theater person. I think I asked you before already. Are you down for helping do our script reading thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
if
that'd be
you let
awesome.
me know,
Because I know you actually know how to act, so that's actually makes it all the better.
If you have
really
any potential dates or whatever, you let me know, and I'll tell you what works for me, and I'll try my best to be there.
I mean, I tried
our
setting up
people
some.
will get with your people.
I tried setting up some from this last couple of weeks, and nobody ever got back to me on anything. So I'll try to do it again, see if I can get some people to commit to something this time. It doesn't really matter when we do it. It doesn't even have to be on stream. We can do it off stream and just record it or something. But any case, it's just like whatever we end up doing. If you're like, I'm trying to start this this game show called Panel Survivor. And I'm trying to start a pop culture podcast as well called No Hitters. So if you'd like to discussing those things, let me know, and like we can set up a time for you to come on and just say, especially if you have a pop culture topic you'd like to rant about, or something that's really like not very well, something that's kind of obscure and not enough people know about, like, just come on and like you just get the first 20 minutes is like to say why you think that's the best, the worst thing or whatever, and so
okay,
yeah, definitely. I've always enjoyed talking to you, Anton. I really hope you have you talked to John lately? I haven't heard from John in forever either.
Also, I appreciate y'all having me on. Appreciated the conversation. It was really cool. I will talk to y'all later, though. I gotta head out.
Okay.
Yeah. Good
Talk to you.
Later, Lib.
I'll see y'all. Nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too, Lib. Well, I appreciate talking to you too, Chris, and I really appreciate you reaching out and sending me a message. I didn't think I was going to make it today, but I looked at my hours and I've already made my 40, so I just headed home early.
That's awesome. I'm really glad you.
Man, that's 2 people that left work to come see this.
Yeah, usually you guys are streaming when I'm like finishing up at work and stuff. And then
well, we might start doing some evening streams because I want to start doing more dance parties. And then those segue into panels. Or we could dance while we discuss topics.
I have in the comments there, Jack. I have no idea what you're talking about. You made a comment to me, but I don't have any idea what you're referring to. So I can't answer that question. I don't know what that means. So anyway.
Yeah, Jack's a new one. I don't. No.
Yeah, he's new. I don't know. He said not shit makes the pussy you think you will not get because of that. I'm just like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean,
don't
don't feed him.
I'm just. I mean, like, it may just be he may be trying to be funny. I don't know. I can't
Okay,
understand the.
well,
I don't understand the
just
reference.
ignore it and move on.
Anyway, yeah, I know we're wrapping up anyway. I'm just like, any case, like this has been a very good stream. I am very happy. It went so much. It went better than I hoped it would. So really happy.
I think you guys should be proud of yourself that you got Buck Angel to come on and put all this whole thing together. I think that's super cool.
Well, our goal was always to get more guests, so that's we had Leslie Elliott last week, or was it last week? And
yeah, last week or 2 weeks ago. I can't remember which one.
So we're gonna work it. This is not the end of it.
Yeah,
we'll get more.
Well, hopefully we'll get Leslie and her husband at some point.
And Paul Williams.
Paul Williams.
I'll try. I can't guarantee anything because
I could probably get
busy.
Benjamin on, or Benjamin and Leslie, but I don't know. I'll see. I just don't want to ask, but maybe I will. Swallow my pride and ask. Celia, good to see you.
Yeah, Midlife Pro Logic. Yes, Buck Angel was on the first hour of the panel. If you'd like to see that, just go back to the beginning of that panel, and it's
the first hour was Buck Angel and crew.
Yeah, I feel like sure.
No, it will not be Owen Benjamin. He ain't coming on here.
I don't see Owen Benjamin coming on the panel.
Yeah, Tommy will come up before Owen Benjamin ever gets on here.
I don't even know who Owen Benjamin is.
He said he used to be a comedian or something, and he started this little like bear cult out in the desert. Like,
is that the guy
that
fleeced his audience?
He's a cult leader.
Yeah, he
gets on YouTube and he tries to get people to send him money for.
And apparently,
he bought a compound and closed it.
Yeah, he's apparently like the top of the pyramid that includes like Paul Enslaved and Talcott and all that stuff. Apparently,
Lord,
they're all roads lead back to Owen Benjamin. Apparently, is what I've been told. And I don't really understand why it fucking matters, but anyway, I think we do the douchebag. So,
good golly.
All right, well, I guess we will wrap up.
Send money.
Well, I just want to say before you guys wrap up, that was a beautiful stream, absolutely beautiful. I thought it was very professional, and I thought that the only thing missing was a little bit more of Libby, because I felt like he can relate a little
I wanted
bit more.
to hear his reactions to some of what Buck said, and I tried to get him in there a few
times. He didn't. I noticed he didn't bite though.
Yeah.
He didn't jump into that, so it wasn't your fault at all.
I didn't imagine that he would really have much conflict with Buck, because Buck
and
him are very.
The part at the very
similar.
end where Buck is about like, God, what was the? Because I know Lib and I have talked before. What Buck was saying was completely opposite from what Lib has expressed, and I wanted to hear Lib's take after hearing Buck's criticism.
Yeah, he didn't pipe up at all. That surprised me.
Yeah.
All right, give me 30 seconds. I just want to say, everybody that out there, remember to hit the like button. Come back tomorrow, same time, same channel, same place, and be just freaking awesome. All right, and join us in the Discord if you guys want to watch Mr. Robot or some other freaky, wild movies and TV. You never know what you're gonna get. A couple days ago, we watched the funniest movie I've ever seen in my life, and I want to say thank you to everybody out there. We appreciate you guys. There will be a donation link coming up soon, and you guys will be able to donate, but we're not there yet, so have a great day.
Yeah, we need to get monetized, so tell your friends.
Yep, more subscribers.
I
know the only reason.
Halfway there.
I mean, we can set up a Patreon now. I mean, it's not like we have to, or is it Subscribe Star or something like that? We could always set up one of those now. You don't have.
I guess we could. Let's talk about it. I guess we could.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I'm not that concerned about it. I mean, the only thing it would help us with is if there are certain people that do want like a small amount of money to come on streams or something like that, we would use it for that. That's pretty much, I think, what we'd use it for, to improve equipment and make the show better. So, no, I'm not going to try to like start like making a living off YouTube at this point.
Well, we can talk about it. Let's talk about it off stream.
All right, guys. Well, this is, like I said, it's been an honor to be on the panel with all of you. And if Buck, by any chance, if you're still out there listening or watching, like, thank you so much for coming on, and we genuinely hope to talk to you again really short and in a relatively short amount of time. And so everyone, good night. I'm gonna sign off and let you guys do your sign offs, and see you on
Thank
Discord.
you very much for letting me come on, man. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Always good. And if you ever want to do another one of our things, let me know.
You got it, man. All right.
Okay.
Peace
Take
out.
care. See, Chuck. Good to
All
see
right.
you. As always, I wish you had come up and done a beard off with
Fluff the
Buck.
beard.
Yeah.
The panel was full. There wasn't no room. They
Oh.
kept telling me panel
I
was
would have
full.
made. I would have made room for you and Buck and Chuck. Chuck and Buck. Buck and Chuck. Was it a movie?
And the real reason Flo came up, he was trying to get some fashion partners that what would match his earrings. Don't let him fool you.
That sneaky devil.
Yep.
Crypto Satanist.
All right, Jeff. Good show, buddy. Good show.
Yep. We'll see you
Later.
around. Take care. Okay, that was our special guest with Mr. Buck Angel episode. And if there's enough momentum, those of you who are in the Discord, if y'all want to do something tonight, like a evening stream or another panel dance or rave or something, just let me know. Otherwise, we will be back tomorrow, same time. You know where to find us, and we will see you then. Take care. Why does the music take so long to start? There you go. Okay, take care. Rock on, rock out.